Tonight we only have
We have
lifesavers.
lifesavers, and I have, I brought the other candy too.
Okay.
A lot of people, it's hard to find a place to park out there. Oh, I know. I
So,
parked over on that other side.
We're ready to go. You ready? Call the meeting to order. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. The Orange County Board of Education pledges to its citizens to conduct its business in a courteous and productive manner, showing respect for fellow board members, staff, and citizens. The board asks its citizens to conduct themselves in the same courtesy towards both school personnel and each other. A moment of silence will be observed before each meeting. The board asks that you check your cell phones and other electronic devices to be certain they're either turned off or on vibrate to avoid interruptions during the meeting. All right, we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll take a moment of silence. All right, we'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. We have a lot that we have to talk about tonight. So with that, Dr. Felder.
Thank you, Mr. Atherton. So good evening to the chair, Chair Atherton, Vice Chair Purcell, to all of our board members, our staff, students, family members, community members. I know that we are all filled with anticipation about meeting and greeting our 13 teachers of the year. Whoop, whoop. Where are you guys? There they are. Yeah. And to getting to the other 7 recognitions lined up for tonight. So tonight is a night of recognitions. But first, I want to begin by handing the mic and floor over to Dr. Denise Green, our Chief Academic Officer. And where is she? I saw her out there. Miss Shannon Braxton, our Director of Cultural Arts and Career and Technical Education, because tonight we are pleased to welcome brief presentations by the theater programs at both Cedar Ridge High School and Orange High School. And so I want to invite both Dr. Green and Ms. Braxton to kick us off. So come on down.
Good evening, Chairman Atherton, Vice Chairman Purcell, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Felder, Superintendent. Well, I'm not the one you need to hear from. And I'm going to turn it to my partner, and I'm going to say, she's not the one you want to hear from. Tonight, we are very delighted to hear from our students. And so I'm going to have Ms. Shannon, Ms. Braxton to give you a highlight of what you're about to see.
Good evening. She just said that you didn't need to hear from me, though. So I'm going to turn it quickly right over to Cedar Ridge. Mr. Yeah. Are you speaking? Yeah. Yes. Mr. Evan Mitchell, right? Cedar Ridge Drama Theater Department. And he's going to introduce his skit tonight.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. My name is Evan Mitchell. I'm the theater arts director at Cedar Ridge. And you can go ahead and set up. About 3 weeks ago, we closed a production called The Infinite Wrench, which is basically a show made up of 30 original student-written plays. So short plays, and we're going to be performing one of those for you tonight. These were written in a specific style of theater. That style of theater demands that everything on stage must be true, which means that there are no characters, no pretending, no acting, essentially, which is odd because that's what we are used to in theater. But what it allows in the end is students a platform to speak about and perform about what matters to them. So to talk about their fears, their hopes, their dreams, their lived experiences. At the core of my program is the concept of empowerment, that by the end of their time with me, they'll know that their voices matter to the world, to the community around them. So we're going to be performing one of those performances today, written by our own Maddie Crisp, performed by Maddie Crisp and Liz Van Dyken, called ADHD Mental Mirror. You ready? ADHD Mental Mirror, go.
Yeah, we just have to get this done for chemistry, but I promise we can do something fun as soon as we're finished, okay? Sounds good. Hey, buddy, can you not? We really need to get this done. Oh, sorry about that. No, you're totally fine. Just right where we need to, okay? This pencil's really bendy. I really like it. Yeah, you're right. It's a lot bendier than I thought. Do you think they make them? Oops. Why did we do that? We knew that was gonna break. Why did you make us do that? I don't know, but I need dopamine somehow. Okay, well, you're just gonna have to wait. This is way more important. Okay, we should get it done. You know that song we heard earlier? We should learn to play it. It was so pretty, and the bridge was so— Cut it out! I'm sorry. You're making this take a lot longer than it has to, okay? We just, please, focus. But we have to. Not now. Can you please just sit still and pay attention? God, we need to clean up, and this place is a mess. Why do you always do this? We just have to do this. Hold on. We should finish this. It's gonna be so pretty when it's done. We can't do that right now. We have to do this or else our grade is gonna drop and Mom isn't gonna— We have to do something fun. Please, can we do something fun? We've been doing this all day. We cannot do anything until this assignment gets done. Why can't you just chill out long enough to do anything productive? I'm sorry. I can't help it. I know. Why can't we just be normal? What is normal? Curtain.
all planned out, right? It didn't work exactly the right way.
Evan, 19? I'm just kidding. It's part of the show.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I wondered, because it didn't say which one was going to go first. So I said, do y'all know which one's going first? And they were like, oh, no, we did rock, paper, scissors outside. So that's how Cedar Ridge got to go first. So up next,
fair.
Orange. All right, Mr. Blake Wilson.
Having us. Yeah, as she said, my name is Blake Wilson. I'm the theater director at Orange, and we do a lot of different styles of theater over the course of time. And so this is our foray into British comedy a little bit. So this particular show is called The 39 Steps. We're actually about still 3.5 weeks out from the performance. So we are in rehearsal right now. So you get to see a little bit of a sneak preview of the show. So the scene you're going to see tonight is the play follows the story of a guy named Richard Hannay, who's a little bit down on his luck, and he gets unwittingly sucked into a spy thriller kind of like chase. So anyway, in this scene that you're about to see, it happens early in the play. We meet Richard Hannay, and he has encountered a secret agent named Annabella Schmidt.
Light, I think.
Wait. Now, so, Richard Hannay,
How do you know my name?
I saw it in the lobby.
Oh, yes. Or might I know your name?
Schmidt, Annabella Schmidt.
Well, Annabella Schmidt. It was you that fired that shot in the theater, wasn't it? It wasn't a great show, but it wasn't that bad.
It was a diversion. There were 2 men in the theater trying to shoot me.
Sounds like a spy story.
That's exactly what it is. Only I prefer the word agent better.
Secret agent, I suppose. For which country?
I have no country.
Born on the balloon, eh?
None of your English humor, please, Mr. Hannay. I'm being pursued by a very brilliant secret agent of a certain foreign power who is on the point of obtaining top secret and highly confidential information vital to your air defense. I tracked those men to that music hall. Unfortunately, they recognized me. They're in the street this moment beneath your English lamppost. Now, do you believe me?
All right, you win.
Mr. Hannay, I'm going to tell you something now which is not very healthy. It will mean either life or death. But if I tell you, then you are involved.
In what?
Involved. Do you wish to be involved?
All right, tell me.
Have you heard of the 39 Steps?
What's that? Sounds like a pub.
No more jokes, Mr. Hannay, please. All I can say is that these men will stick at nothing. If they're not stopped, it is only a matter of days, perhaps hours, before the top secret and highly confidential information is out of the country. And once it is out of the country, God help us all. God help the world.
The world?
The world! And only we can stop them now. You do not understand what they're like, Mr. Hannay, how clever their chief is. He has 12 names. He can look like 1,000 people. But one thing he cannot disguise is this top joint of his little finger is missing. So, if you ever should meet a man with his top joint gone, be very careful, my friend.
I'll remember that.
And Richard. May I call you Richard?
Of course.
Richard.
Yes.
Yes, is a night, please. I am most dreadfully tired.
Of course. You can sleep in my bed. I'll get a shakedown on my armchair.
Ah, if you wish. And one more thing. I need a map of Scotland.
A map of Scotland? Oh, I do believe there's one in my room under the section Scotland.
Thanks. There is a man we must meet in Scotland by the name of Professor Jordan, an Englishman. He lives in a place called Altna-Shelach.
Altna-Shelach. And the 39th.
Good night, Richard.
Good night, Pamela.
Dr. Felder, board, Thank you so much for asking the theater arts to present tonight. I'm not really sure that that's ever happened before. We've shared with you art, visual art, we've shared with you chorus performances, we've shared with you band performances. How wonderful tonight to be able to share these theater performances from both high schools. There's 32 cultural arts teachers in Orange County schools, and they've helped to make well-rounded students. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so much, Ms. Braxton, and another big round of applause to all of our amazing students, and to Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Wilson. Thank you for giving our students this opportunity to shine. Thank you all. Great job. All right. Well, what a way to kick off the night. All right, so at this time, I would like to invite Mrs. Joyce Hatcher, our Chief of Human Capital, to come forward, because we have 13 people to recognize tonight, and they would be our 2003 Orange County Schools Teachers of the Year. So Ms. Hatcher, take it away.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, and Dr. Felder. We are super duper excited about what you are going to receive before you. We have 13, not one, not two, but 13 of the greatest teachers that you will ever see stand before you. I am super duper excited and cannot wait until we get to actually complete the process where we determine who our Teacher of the Year will be. But I do have, and I'm gonna ask that they all just come on up. They're sitting together, and as they're coming up, they've taken their headshots this evening as well as their group picture. You all come on up. What y'all doing? Come on. So I also too want to thank, they follow instructions very well. So they came this evening, they had their group pictures taken. They had their individual headshots taken. I would ask that principals that are here representing, please stand. And I'm just going to call off the names of our 13 teachers that your staff, your peers felt you all need to be nominated as your school's Teacher of the Year. And this is a great honor. I do apologize if I murder or hit, you all just get with me later, okay? So for Grady Brown, we do have the Teacher of the Year is Katie Ray. Katie, will you raise your hand? He teaches second grade at Grady Brown. We also have Jackie Minoza, who is our from Gravelly Hill. Grade EC Inclusion and Resource Math and ELA teacher. We also have Adam Canosa. K-5 music teacher at Hillsborough. We also have Sherry Thomas from Eflin Cheek. Sherry teaches kindergarten and the kindergarten through 5th grade at Eflin Cheek. I'm sorry, music, okay, well, okay. Well, you do it all, okay. So, okay, then we have Tammy Voss from River Park. Right, okay. We have Savannah Patterson from Cedar Ridge High School. Just science. We have Katie Ellis from Central. She is our reading list. We have Angie Stevens from Orange Middle School. She teaches 8th grade math and Math 1. We have Joe Sharp from A.L. Standback, who teaches 8th grade. We have Shannon Gaster at Pathways, who is an exceptional children's resource teacher. Gaddy from Orange High School and teaches grades 9 through 12. Wanda Rittenhouse, who teaches at Partnership Academy. More, but I had to reach out to the principal to make sure that I got the pronunciation correct. And this person is Maria, and Maria is Maria Atan Otua. Did I get that right? Oh, well, okay, okay, thank you, Maria, okay. Is the first grade dual language teacher at New Hope Elementary. So look before you here, this is the greatest 13 here. We are super excited about next steps. They have received their portfolios and they are due on April the 14th. And then from there, the week of the 17th, we will start our interviews to determine which of you will be the next Orange County Schools Teacher of the Year. Thank you for what you do for our students at Orange County Schools. Around, and you're going to shake the board members' hands.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hatcher, and congratulations.
I appreciate reading your Facebook.
About 2023 Teachers of the Year.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Mr. Gaddy.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
So good to see you. So well deserved.
Hello, Mr. Gaddy. How are you? I'm so
Well, you, good to see you, my dear. Oh, good to see you.
well deserved.
Congratulations again.
Thank you for all you do.
Good to see you. Aw. Nice.
For Orange County Schools.
Congratulations. Good seeing you again.
So again, congratulations to all of our 2023 Teachers of the Year. There's absolutely positively no substitute for a great teacher. We are incredibly proud of each and every one of you. I look forward to celebrating all of you. I know you're heading out. It's okay. I look forward to celebrating all of you later on in the spring and for having an opportunity to work with you as part of the Superintendent's Teacher of the Year Roundtable. So stay tuned for more information to come. And again, congratulations to each of you. All right, looks like folks have work tomorrow, so they're heading out. Okay, so the remainder of tonight's recognitions will be presented in calendar order, starting with April 1st. And I know today is the 10th, so we've got some making up to do. And so that brings us to the next recognition, and that would be for the National Robotics Week, which is April 1st through the 8th. And so it just so happens that National Robotics Week also coincides with another visit from our first robotics competition team, 587, the infamous Hedgehogs from Orange High School and Cedar Ridge High Schools. They are here tonight and not by themselves. They brought friends. And so with them tonight are representatives from our first Lego League and first Tech Challenge teams as well to celebrate National Robotics Month. And also the Hedgehogs back-to-back, that's right, back-to-back district champion as the #1 alliance in finals again, which means they are off to Houston for Worlds. Yes, that is awesome accomplishment. Indeed. So yes, I was there. Got my little button to prove it. for at least a portion of the finals, but I know that the students, mentors, and families were there too, and so I'm not going to steal your thunder. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mrs. Nina Day, founder and mentor, Mr. Patrick Mitchell, current mentor for several levels of OCS's programs. Would you both come on down and share a very brief word with our board? And while you're doing that, we also have a 3-minute video that we'd like to play because Team 587, the Hedgehogs, also won an Impact Award. And so we're very proud of them for earning this award through community service. And so we'll play that as well. So Mrs. Day.
Well, thank you, but we are going to yield our time to our team co-captain, Stuart Doyle.
I'm the team captain of Team 587 for this current year. For some context, we're about to play our Impact video. The Impact Award is given to first robotics teams that show exceptional skill and also dedication to sharing with their community. These past couple of years, we've turned a lot of our resources, as you'll see, trying to give back to our community in ways that just in ways that we haven't in the past. And so we did something right, at least, besides winning, but we also made an impact on our community. So whoever's in charge of playing the video, if you want to go ahead, and then I'll say some more things, I guess.
From Hillsborough, North Carolina, they are the Hedgehogs.
Hi, my name is Murilo, and I'm one of the student leads in the Go Baby Go project. Go Baby Go is a project that builds mobility devices for students with special needs. Our team was inspired to pursue this project after seeing it in a video while attending Houston First Championships last year. When we talked about this idea with elementary school teachers, they were overjoyed to see that we would be willing to help other students using our robotic skills. The teachers were able to help us focus on a student that would benefit from this project, a kindergarten student named Ellie. Using grants and donations, we secured the materials we needed and constructed 2 Go Baby Go vehicles over the summer months. We discovered that the Go Baby Go parts were no longer available, which led to many moments of discoveries and innovation which lengthened our build process through the fall. When we presented this device to Ellie, she hopped right in and immediately seemed to know how it worked. It was a perfect fit, and we knew that it would help Ellie be more independent. This project really demonstrated to me that my technical skills would be a benefit to others and not just to me.
Hi, my name is Calvin, and I provided the live music samples for an adaptive music device we made for a fellow music lover, Jake. Jake loves music, but due to his cerebral palsy, he's restricted from participating in music class. We talked about Jake's strengths with his care team and designed a device he could wear on his head. Subtle tilts of his head would activate a gyro sensor, which would trigger a sound for the direction of his head, allowing Jake to participate more in music class. When Team 587 demonstrated this device to Jake's care team, they were super excited. When we use our robotic skills to help others, it's amazing the impact it can have. Our little project became a big inspiration for Jake's team. They're still brainstorming and coming up with ways to help Jake participate more.
Hello, my name is Harper. I'm on this year's Strive team as well as being CAD captain. Not only has our team helped students in our school system, but we have been active representatives of FIRST Robotics in our school, advocating the program to our North Carolina legislature, and making people in the community aware with demonstrations at city and state events. Our efforts are making people excited about robotics. This past year, we assisted our feeder middle school in creating a First Tech Challenge robot team, 21501, and assisted our elementary First Lego Challenge teams at their practice and competition.
When we presented our Go Baby Go project to the community, we had no idea how it would inspire students to help others. We were surprised when a local elementary school presented their projects to us.
This car senses motion.
There were so many prototypes and they were all excited to share. When we take the time to build relationships and share our passions, we become more to those around us. My name is Michaela and my team is more than just robots.
So this was a 3-minute glimpse into what our team does on our outreach side. But we do a bit more than outreach on robotics. Right over here, we have 3 members from my team, if they want to stand real quick. That's Xavier, Harper, and Ben. Both Ben and Harper. Oh, and Isabella's here. She's from the Orange Middle School team as well. But Ben and Harper, you guys can sit now. Ben and Harper are on our drive teams. They're on our competitive team. We've talked to the board a bit before, as well as last year, about our team. But we compete on an international organization called First Robotics. We just won our district event, which takes the top 40 teams from North Carolina. We went down to East Carolina University, and we competed in a playoff style, which we eventually won. And now we're going to Houston because of it. We're going to get to compete with the top. We get to compete with the top roughly 400 teams in the world. We're really excited. It's our second year of doing this. This is an incredible thing for students to do. Since we get students from both high schools, so we have a lot of different students coming in. This is getting to see teams from all over the world, getting to see people from all over the world doing the same thing you're doing with the same amount of passion for one group activity is really life-changing. Every single person at this world event has put 2 entire months into building a robot and has competed with that robot for about another month and has played through 3 competitions and done well. We all understand where we're all coming from. No matter the different backgrounds that all these teams are coming from, not just our team, but from other teams as well. We get to kind of compete for one thing, but we also get to meet each other. This past year, and actually these past 2 years, we've received an incredible amount of community support. We've received, and a lot of that has been actually from our school system and from the school board and also our individual schools. A lot of what we've done this year would not have been possible without the support we've received from our community and our schools. And I wanted to use this time to thank all of you personally and for our team for allowing us to do this. Because again, there's nothing really out there like First. There's nothing really out there like Hedgehogs. Pulling students from 2 different schools and competing like this is really unique. And I really want to thank you all, the people behind me as well, everyone who's donated to our team, who's put time and hours into helping us and has come and watched us. It's all been helping us push forward. So thank you all so much. And I really hope that you'll continue to support us in the future. So thank you so much.
So congratulations again to the Hedgehogs. Good luck as you head to Worlds. And we hope all of our students in the younger divisions see this example and stay inspired to see themselves in this same position one day here in our schools. So congratulations to all of you again. Okay, so the next recognition, so again, keeping in calendar order, April 3rd through the 7th was National Assistant Principals Week. And so it's a celebration of the often unsung heroes in our educational system, but not here in Orange County schools. And so these dedicated educational leaders work tirelessly at the elementary level, the middle school level, the high school level to bolster teachers, motivate students, support principals, create safe and inclusive learning community environments, and face so many unpredictable challenges and opportunities that land on their desk almost daily. And so we want to recognize our assistant principals as they play a critical role. We also know that our schools dedicated time to recognize you for your hard work and commitment to our schools, students, and profession. So board, please join me. But before you do, I see one assistant principal in the audience. Do I see one? I thought I did. Maybe. No? Okay, well, that's all right. We're going to celebrate them anyway. So board, please join me in celebrating these incredible school leaders who do so much for our students, our staff, and our families each and every day. All right. And there they are on the screen. So that brings us to the next recognition. So they're here with us in spirit. We'll take it. So April is School Library Month, and April 4th was National School Librarian Day. Great. And so every April, the American Association of School Librarians encourages school librarians to help their schools and local communities celebrate the essential role that strong school libraries play in transforming learning. So of course, we have National Read Aloud Day, we have Read Across America Week, and even visits by famous authors like Kwame Alexander, who joined us a couple of weeks ago at Gravely Hill Middle School. But we know our librarians are making a difference each and every day for our students. So thank you to Erin Bradley, our instructional technology and media facilitator. I don't see her here, but okay, we are celebrating her nonetheless, and her colleagues for these stats that help us to understand the impact. So here are some stats. Did you know that librarians in Orange County schools have over 200 combined years of experience in education? Did you know that the librarians in Orange County schools have circulated 81,065 books so far just this school year alone? I'm going to repeat that. 81,065 books this year alone. So for these and so many other reasons, we are proud to celebrate our school librarians during School Library Month and National School Librarian Day. So let's give them a round of applause. All right, so time for trivia. Okay, so the first Wednesday in April every year is Severe Weather Day. No. Okay, but thank you for that. It is actually Paraprofessional Appreciation Day, which means this year, Paraprofessional Appreciation Day was on April 5th. So formerly known as teachers' aides, we no longer refer to our staff in this role as teachers' aides because we know that they are vitally important and are wonderful educators. So we refer to them as teaching assistants or teacher assistants. And they are truly educators who provide highly skilled and consistent support in our schools. So to more of our unsung heroes, our paraprofessionals in every setting, thank you for all that you do, and we encourage our schools to continue showing these valued team members a little extra love this month for the incredible work that they do each and every day. So a round of applause for our teacher teaching assistants. Okay, so next up, we also want to celebrate our occupational therapists because I tell you, April is just loaded with celebrations. So April is Occupational Therapy Month. How many of you knew that? One person. Okay, well, you know now. So in Orange County schools, our occupational therapists, also known as OTs, serve students in pre-K through grade 12 who are served in all educational settings. Karen Beaver, is she here tonight? Okay, well, if you don't know, Karen is our lead OT. She's our lead occupational therapist. And while some of us may not know what an OT does, it is a science-driven, evidence-based profession that empowers people of all ages to participate in daily living or live better with injuries, illnesses, or disabilities. So many students in our schools, that's the kind of support that will help them see their way to graduation and to a fruitful life after school. So we are so thankful for our OTs, our occupational therapists, and other school staff who make sure pathways stay open for all of our students. Let's give our occupational therapists a round of applause. All right, and so the next recognition, we happen to have Faith Litchfield here, and I'll tell you why she's here. So last Wednesday was OCS's Night of Poetry. And so what can I tell you? If you were at Cedar Ridge High School on Wednesday night, April 5th, and if you have been watching our students learn about the beauty of the written word in their poetry clubs and in OCS's Youth Poet Laureate program, then you know that they have found their voice. I know we have just a short time to celebrate the inauguration of this program, but on behalf of the board and all three of our high schools, I want to send a heartfelt thanks and congratulations first off to all the students who participated, to their teachers, and to the poet laureates and other authors and teachers who made this possible. And so with that, so we want to say that last fall, what the idea was hatched as our esteemed poet laureate, Orange County's own Miss Jackie Shelton Green, with her deep wisdom. If you know anything about her, she's deep in wisdom and with energy and enthusiasm. And that is also contagious, as Mrs. Mariah Morris and Mrs. Amber Wilson worked alongside Miss Jackie Shelton Green to bring what was a vision and a dream to fruition. And so it grew from that idea to what I truly hope and believe will become a movement. So tonight we want to honor and recognize the three students who will be asked to serve as their school's youth poet laureates, namely Jalen Sorrells at Partnership Academy, Guadalupe Luna Rojas of Cedar Ridge High School, and I already mentioned, and she's right here with us, Miss Faith Litchfield of Orange High School, who was also named the first ever Orange County Schools Youth Poet Laureate. Tongue twister there. Please stand so we can recognize you. So super duper proud of these students. And so what excites me the most is that the teachers and the organizers have a wonderfully broad vision for the students who participated in this program. So every student who joined the poetry clubs from the two-day poetry intensive with Miss Jackie Shelton Green, and for the heartfelt reading of their work last week, every student will be serving as ambassadors for poetry in the coming year as they meet with younger students to help them find their voice through poetry. So congratulations again, Ms. Litchfield, on being selected to represent the district, and I sincerely look forward to bringing more updates about the growth of the Youth Poet Laureate program in the future. All right, and so last but not least, this year, April 1st through 7th is the Week of the Young Child. This week-long initiative is hosted by the National Association for the Education of Young Children to celebrate early learning, young children, their teachers, and their families. We know that the best possible start for growth all the way to graduation comes from high-quality early care and education. So thank you to Orange County Partnership for Young Children for elevating this celebration. We are proud to celebrate the Week of the Young Child in Orange County schools. So, board, that wraps up tonight's recognitions.
And I would just like to say we're looking forward to you coming and sharing some of your poetry with us.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. We appreciate it, especially everyone for recognitions. Thank y'all for coming in, and we really appreciate all of y'all. All right, next we have our agenda adoption. Do we have any items to pull from consent? I am not aware of any at this point, but I do want to check. I don't know.
Mr. Atherton?
Yes, Dr. Moore.
Okay, I did request about the, I'm sorry, the contract for the Hill Group.
Okay, we'll pull that, and we will add it to the first action item under discussion action. Is that acceptable with everybody?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Thank you.
Okay, with that one change, do we have a motion to approve agenda with the one item pulled from consent to be the first item under discussion action item?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Agenda has been passed. Okay, we have public comments. We have 2 that are signed up.
We have 2.
The Board of Education welcomes public comment, which are governed by Board Policy 2310 and North Carolina General Statute 143-318.17. A person wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the board's regular meeting. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. When the 3 minutes in, the speaker must stop speaking immediately. Yielding time to another speaker will not be permitted. All public comments should be civil and non-disruptive. Per policy, board members will listen carefully but will not respond to speakers. Ms. Purcell?
First up tonight is Abigail Montandon. I hope I said that right.
All right. Hello, my name is Abigail Montandon. I have 5 children. My middle daughter attends Pathways Elementary. And I believe that most parents and teachers, librarians are doing their best to inspire youth to aim for their highest potential. We all fall short sometimes, and our kids have to learn from our mistakes. My kids do. My mistakes. Where do we look for the ideals that we aim for? A lot of it's YouTube, Google, and books in the library, which is very impressive how the circulation that was referenced earlier. I am not perfect, and I believe children should be taught that they are ultimately responsible for the decisions that they make. But especially in the highly impressionable elementary school age range, children are to be taught discernment and where to look for ideals and what good and beautiful is. And maybe we don't all agree on what the ideal is or what is even good, but I think in a democratic society, we can agree that the principles of respectful disagreement, self-discipline, honesty, and kindness are virtues that make good citizens. These virtues are most easily learned by good modeling and not by negative example. I'm going to read a selection from a graphic novel that is listed on the catalog at my daughter's school at Pathways Elementary. Okay, an angry and apparently intoxicated youth is approaching a group of other youth. Uh-oh, I lost my spot. She opens the door, slams it, comes out and says, fuck you, asshole. You think you're so fucking cool, but you're nothing but a douchebag with a penis. She throws a can of beer at him. Can you get her out of here? The boy says, grow the fuck up, Duncan. Why can't you just man up and deal with your shit? And it goes on. This book contains 24 F words, 9 S words, 4 assholes, 3 bitches, etc. It also describes and references oral sex, hiding difficult things from your parents, abortion, pornography, underage drinking, smoking, and suicide. This may be how teenagers act. The content may be relatable to some teens and even young people, but I believe that we should teach our youth better ways to act and interact. Let's inspire them with things that uplift and build. I'm not against difficult content and age-appropriate conversations to be had with parents and trusted adults. But when we put content like this available without context to elementary school children, what messages are we really sending? Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gretchen Smith is up next.
Good evening. I'm going to share some comments from a parent in the district who prefers to remain anonymous. Oops, first I have to take it out of airplane mode.
Representatives and everyone here coming to the voting station that I actually voted for the first time for some new faces in our school board because I am a parent of a pair of recent Orange County high school graduates who, one of whom does identify as LGBT and who does feel like the books that are currently available in the school system for minors to check out are very inappropriate for students. My child and I have discussed the books while I took their position into account, and ultimately their position on those books was what decided for me how I feel I should feel about these books, because as the parent of a young recent high school graduate who is part of the LGBT community and who is an active member of that community, for them to feel like these books are inappropriate to have in a high school really made an impact on me. My initial reaction was wondering, am I just kind of reading too much into this? Am I too much of a grown-up here? Am I being a little on the crude side? But these books really are, when you look at them, displaying things that are not appropriate for someone who's, say, 14 years old to pick up and read. And that's not saying that I don't feel, or my child doesn't feel, that we should have LGBT books in schools. We absolutely should. They just should be age appropriate. And the things that our school board currently is wishing to keep in our schools are not age appropriate.
I have a small amount of information to share from a large study conducted by the British Board of Film Classification and featured in a series on Fight the New Drug, which is a non-religious organization dedicated to creating understanding and awareness of the destructive power of pornography to individuals and our world. This study focused on non-photographic pornography, or in other words, cartoon porn, which is often is found to feature favorite characters of children who are often children themselves. The study stated, even though non-photographic child sexual abuse material is not victimizing a real child, it is training the viewer to see children as a subject of sexual interest and is desensitizing them to the crimes of contact child sexual abuse and/or consumption of photographic child sexual abuse material. The first sexual images seen by children can include abusive imagery contained within hentai, which is a Japanese-style non-photographic pornography, as well as that can be used in the sexual grooming of children. In our state alone, we have 60 offenders who are waiting to go to court from our schools who have offended children. 40 have been arrested in the last 2 years for either sex crimes with minors or a sex crime committed against others in the school community. 99% of the number of sex
Sorry, your
crimes
time
against
is up.
children. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comment for tonight. Next, we have our board comments. Any comments, Dr. Moore?
Yeah, just congratulations to the Teachers of the Year and to our robotics team. And thank you to the community for coming out to share your concerns with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Moore. Ms. Smiley?
Yeah, as we were doing this, it was occurring to me, gosh, I wish we could pause after each one to sort of say that. Then it adds a lot of time. But congratulations to the Teachers of the Year who are still here. Just a couple of other things. One, and to the robotics team this day. Really, really excited for how they're going to do in Worlds. A couple of things. I appreciated the retreat last week where we discussed discipline and climate, and was just really grateful to the principals for coming and just having a real conversation. It's so great to just hear about how they're thinking about leading their schools in those ways. And then the night of poetry was just, remarkable. It was really incredible. There were local poet laureates from Chapel Hill and Carborough. There was a local poet from Hillsborough, in addition to Jackie Shelton Green, who sort of read interspersed with the students. All of the student poetry was so powerful. And then the vision for the students who participated to then go out into the middle schools and the elementary schools next year to sort of share their love of poetry and engage with the students was really special. Jackie Shelton Green is planning, she started in Orange County schools, but she's planning on, her vision is to have a poet laureate in every high school in the state. And she's here several years to do it as the poet laureate. So very exciting that it started here. It was a great event. Highly recommend going next year. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Ms. Toma?
I'm just excited that we got to see so many different student groups and the theater groups. And I unfortunately missed the poetry event, and I can't wait to go next year. And so I'm just excited about seeing all that we're doing in our schools, as well as I also really appreciated the retreat with the principals last week and hearing how they support one another and work to really develop a positive culture in our schools and handle different challenges. So that's all.
Excellent. Bonnie?
I don't know, I just have a question about the Teachers of the Year. It was really exciting to be able to shake everybody's hand. But am I correct that the teachers in the school, do the teachers in the school select the Teachers of the Year? Which makes it the most extraordinary accomplishment. So it just is such an honor to have shaken the hands of the people who are really the spiritual leaders of their peers. Thank you, so that was fantastic. And I also did want to thank the parents for coming out tonight.
All right, Andre?
I just want to congratulate all the Teachers of the Year. I think that's a wonderful achievement. And I just really, really thoroughly enjoy all the recognitions that we give to all the members of our district. I think that's special and it's definitely needed because, you know, we can say thank you, but just to show it, that means a lot, so.
Absolutely. Ms. Purcell?
I'd like to take this time to congratulate the robotics team once again. I remember when this team was formed, and they have come a long, long way over the past few years under Ms. Day's leadership and a lot of parent volunteers, a lot of student hard work. And it is really a phenomenal thing to see, and I appreciate it so much. And appreciate the children coming in and speaking to, I shouldn't say children, students coming in and speaking to us. And the ones that were here last week or the week before, I can't remember, all of them that have come in have been so very well spoken, and you can see and listen to the passion that they have for this program. And I think it is absolutely wonderful for Orange County Schools. And so I say congratulations to them again. Congratulations to our Teachers of the Year. That's a very exciting time in a school to nominate and have your Teachers of the Year and have them getting ready for that interview process that they have to go through. So look like a great group of teachers up here tonight. I know several of them. I've worked with them, so I know that they all are very deserving of this honor. And so I just say again, congratulations to all of our teachers. They're the ones that do the hard work. They're in the school every day, in the classroom, doing everything that needs to be done. And so I congratulate them.
I too would just like to thank all of the Teachers of the Years and all of our teachers as well. It's just so wonderful to see everybody and really appreciate the work you do each and every day and taking the time to be here tonight as well. Just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Day. It's amazing work you and all the volunteers do with that team, and me in my short time on the board. It's been amazing to see how they've grown and the cooperation that goes on. It's just amazing, and just wanted to say good luck to the Hedgehogs and Worlds. I want to just echo what Sarah said about the Poet Laureate. It's just an amazing event. It was wonderful to hear all the passion and see all the support from the community, and just looking forward to seeing how that group takes it to the next level next year and how it evolves from what we saw. One thing that I did want to share with the board is that myself and Dr. Felder and Rhonda went to the county commissioners. We met with 2 of the county commissioners. They had questions from prior meetings that they wanted to just ask more in-depth questions. And so we figured the best way to do it was just have a smaller meeting, and we sat down and we had discussions about initiatives, what we're doing to support learning, the MTSS, talking about the funding and some of our challenges, and felt like it was a really good conversation to be able to dive deep into that discussion at the same time, let them ask any of the questions they may have. I don't know, is there anything else to add to that, Dr. Felder?
No, I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to provide some clarity, to hear from county commissioners, their perspectives on things. And yeah, it's a very collaborative meeting.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that. It happened a little while back at this point, but just definitely wanted to share it was something different that we were able to do and be able to answer questions outside of our normal joint meeting. All right, with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the personnel amendments?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. All right, next up, we have our work session items. We'll start off with our reaccreditation. Dr. Felder?
Wonderful, thank you, Mr. Atherton. So as you, board, as you already know, on Tuesday, March 21st, we received information with regards to the very rigorous accreditation process that the district was engaged in. We were informed that after that very rigorous process, that the district is now fully accredited for the next 6 years. This valuable mark of distinction is recognized around the world. And so joining us tonight is Dr. Cheryl Allred. She is the Regional Accreditation Evaluator for the Mid-Atlantic region. So we welcome Dr. Allred. She's going to give a presentation. Again, you've gotten a ton of information about this accreditation process, including the fact that Orange County Schools earned 355 out of 400 education quality index. And as that, along with the teacher survey instrument, which over 80% of our school-based certified staff, who are mostly teachers, completed, which gave the districts an overall perspective that our culture is positive. Now, of course, we still have more work to do, but that was helpful. And so Dr. Allred would say a lot more about the Cognia accreditation process, but she was amazing in helping to guide and steer the work. And it was just an incredible process, and it speaks volumes about the work that's underway in the district. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Allred. Dr. Allred, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. And I wish I were there, but I did join the meeting at 7, and I must say I'm extremely impressed with all the recognitions, and I echo everything the board members said in terms of congratulations. So it was just a warm, fuzzy feeling for this last 45 minutes for me to be a part of that. So thank you. I will move right along because you have a full agenda. Just a quick introduction. I started my career as a math teacher and school principal, assistant superintendent for instruction. My last 7 years as superintendent. So I hail from your neighboring state of South Carolina with 36 years of public school experience, and retired. My late husband was waiting on a heart transplant, and I felt that I needed to be a caretaker instead of a full-time educator. And so anyway, after that, he did not make it. And so I decided that I didn't do very well being retired. And so I failed retirement and started back working with the South Carolina Education Department and working with low performing schools, and then started working with Cognia as a lead evaluator. And so that's what brings me to working with Orange County Schools with this recent engagement review as lead evaluator. And I also serve as a reader reviewer for reports that others write for school systems to edit and synthesize all of the material that's put into the report. So my experience here with you tonight is to talk strictly about just highlighting some of the findings that we had for the Orange County Schools in this accreditation review. So if we will move forward with the next slide, I think Mr. Schofield is working with that. And so I want to try not to rush, but to try to give you a very quick overview of just what this means for you folks in Orange County Schools. in terms of what is accreditation, and Dr. Felder did allude to that, it's an international protocol for institutions, whether it's schools, school systems, and helping you to be systemic and systematic with your improvement. You start initiatives, can you sustain them? So we look at building capacity for you to improve and sustain student learning. You know, many schools and institutions will begin several initiatives and they sort of fall by the wayside, and so student learning is not sustained. So we look at the sustainability of your initiatives. We also look at stimulating and improving effectiveness and efficiency throughout the system. So, you know, we are all about, there again, looking at these quality standards and making sure that you as a board understand that this is an international protocol. So we are across the US, so all the domestic side of it as well as international. We actually use these same standards and evaluate schools and school systems in over 70 foreign countries. So I've had the opportunity in the last 3 or 4 years of working with Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Kuwait, Jordan, Bogota, Colombia. I'll be going to Puerto Rico next week to evaluate schools there. So when we talk about the standards and the findings tonight, just know that it's not just schools in North Carolina, it's not just schools in the Southeast, it's not just schools in our country, but it's across the international world that we use these same set of standards for evaluation purposes. So the next slide, please. In terms of the role of the engagement review team, so I served as the lead evaluator, but basically we had a team of folks looking at all the documentation, and then 2 of us actually participating in the leadership presentation and in your interview of your leadership team. And so these items here that I have bolded, we actually had to gather information and evaluate Orange County schools' performance against the 30 performance standards, cognitive performance standards. And so it was a monumental task that you undertook. And so we looked at your assurances, making sure that you were meeting, you know, that we didn't want to accredit a school that was financially unstable, that you had a healthy fund balance, that you had safety and security measures, crisis management plans, all sorts of assurances that you are signing off, that you are ensuring as a system that your 13 schools meet the quality standards. They had to write an executive summary, which was very extensive. The standard self-assessment document, that one piece, that standard self-assessment document for the leadership team in this district, that doesn't do it justice, the hard work that they put into that. You had to look at each one of the 30 standards. You had to rate those standards. You had to give lots of evidence as to why you rated the standards that you did. Had to write an analysis with each one of those in terms of how Orange County Schools is meeting that standard. Student performance analysis, very extensive review of how Orange County is doing with student performance, both formative and summative assessments. The stakeholder feedback analysis, we looked at, you know, did you have town hall meetings? Do you have site council meetings? Feedback from different meetings and groups. And then mainly your surveys, your perception data. You know, what do stakeholders think about you? Panorama surveys, your teacher working condition surveys, your cognitive surveys. So gather information from all the various stakeholders, students, teachers, parents. Learning environment observation analysis. The district actually used Cognia's instrument and conducted 93 observations, and you as a district analyzed that data and how you were doing in comparison to others with those 7 different environments that are most conducive to student learning. And then the accreditation portfolio, just out of all of the standards and having to collect the data to support those standards. So I think you had probably somewhere between 30 and 35 pieces of evidence that we reviewed that helped us with this process. The leadership presentation was given in early March. All this process started with me in November. It really actually got off started in the fall with another person and switched over. And I took over working with you all in November and worked very closely with you from November through March in this whole process. And so your leadership for the district actually had a presentation for the team. And then we also interviewed the leadership team. And so all of that together helped us to evaluate Orange County Schools' performance against these 30 standards for quality educational programs. And hopefully the report provides feedback to you to help you will focus and guide your improvement journey, because the whole process is really about your commitment to improve and never being satisfied with where you are, but continually looking at ways you can get better. That continuous improvement journey. Okay. If we can go to the next slide, please. So with that, I kept talking about the 30 standards. And so there's a rubric. It's not just a guessing. Every one of those standards had to be rated 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if it's a 4, it means that it's a very noteworthy, systemic practice. You're going way over and beyond the intent of the standard. If an institution actually gets a 4 rating on a standard, it means that you're going way over and beyond what's expected to do with that particular standard. If it's rated at a 3, the intent of that standard is that you are meeting the intent of the standard. You're engaging in practices across the system, you're getting the expected effectiveness, and you're actually meeting the intent of the standard. If the standard's rated 2, you have developing practices, you're almost there, you're approaching that level of effectiveness, but you're not quite there with meeting the intent of the standard. And then, of course, a rating of 1, reflecting areas with insufficient evidence, limited activity. So very little is going on in the district with a standard that's rated 1, or either you have some evidence, but it's really insufficient to rate the standard any higher. So all 30 standards had to be rated a 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that's sort of just a quick mathematical looking at how those ratings occur. Next slide, please. So this is sort of just an overall picture for you to understand a very extensive report, but the standards ratings for Orange County Schools, a level 4, remember I said that was very noteworthy. You went way beyond the intent of the standard. And if you look at, I actually listed the numbers of the standards, which those numbers don't mean anything to you, but what I really want you to note is that 12 standards are listed there that were rated at a level 4 for Orange County Schools. So in 12 of the 30 standards, you exceeded expectations. You exceeded the intent of the standard. You're going way beyond what has to be done. Level 3, you have 18 of the 30 standards, and those 18 standards are listed there. 18 of the standards that Orange County Schools actually are meeting the intent of the standard. You're doing exactly what's expected for quality programs. And so 18 of the standards are rated at level 3. You note no standards in the schools were rated at a level 1 or a 2. This is highly unlikely to occur in most engagement reviews for accreditation. There are many, many 2s typically in the average school system engagement review. So for Orange County to actually end up with 12 of the standards being rated at a level 4 and 18 of the standards rated at a level 3, it's an exceptional review in terms of quantifying what's going on in terms of the performance standards for an accredited school system. So hats off to you for such a review and the findings with that. And so the next slide, please. Just a little more so that when you look at the extensive report, it'll give you a little feel for how everything's organized. So with those 30 standards, and you haven't scored 12 of them at a level 4 and 18 of them at a level 3. They're clumped together in 4 different categories. In a quality school institution, whether it's a school or a system, we look at culture, we look at leadership, we look at engagement of learning, and we look at growth in learning. And I actually, clump the standards that go with culture. So you have 6 standards that look at cultural learning. And that's where you're looking at good institutions. They nurture and sustain a healthy culture. The stakeholders are very involved. All stakeholders are involved. You're looking at academic and non-academic needs of students. So that's basically what we're talking about with culture. With leadership for learning, you see standards 7 through 15 actually are connected to leadership. We look at leaders being engaged in their own learning. We look at them supporting the leadership and the learning of teachers and certified staff, and then, of course, of the students. The governing board is under this leadership for learning. So how you govern, do you micromanage? Do you understand your roles and responsibilities? All those pieces are under leadership. Standard operating procedures. Do you have very strong, well-defined standard operating procedures? Do you have highly qualified teachers? Do you have sufficient materials and resources? Those, and then the whole continuous improvement process, strategic planning and commitment to continuous improvement. All of that's under leadership. Engagement of learning, standards 16 through 23, that component, that key characteristic that clumps those standards together, all about learners being actively engaged, not compliant, but truly engaged. They're participating with confidence. They display a love of learning. They have agency over their learning. You have high expectations. You have differentiated instruction. You have diversity initiatives. You have professional development plan for training teachers. And the whole piece of monitoring and adjusting instruction. If things aren't working, you have a very structured instructional framework where you can monitor and adjust instruction to meet student needs. All of that is under engagement of learning and how well you're doing with that. And then last but not least, of course, the growth in learning is another key characteristic, key area here, where you're looking at how prepared are students for their next level. Are you looking at your MTSS? You're looking at what kinds of interventions you have, your futures and career planning, the whole balanced assessment system. And so you're really looking at student performance results and seeing where there's growth. It's all about a growth model and how well you're doing, showing growth in reading and math and in all of your areas that you're measuring. So the next slide, please. So with that, with those 4 big areas, culture, leadership, engagement, growth, there's a theme. We look at all the evidence presented, and there's a theme that's developed by our team for that, for your school system. Those themes can be negative, they can be positive. And I will tell you that all 4 themes for Orange County schools, all 4 were positive, very strong positive themes in all 4 of those areas. So I'll read this and just talk just very quickly about what we mean by this. So with all of the evidence, all the review of the documentation, the leadership presentation, the interviews, whatever, the well-being of Orange County schools learners is at the heart of the institution's guiding principles, as the system has a proactive approach to building a healthy culture and leaders actively engage stakeholders to advance priorities. So a mouthful of educational jargon, but basically we found evidence of a very inclusive culture. 2 of your strategic goals in your strategic plan deal directly with school culture. You had 93 Elliott observations, your learner environment observation tool. 93 of those were done during December and January and came out very strong with supportive learning environments, well-managed learning environments, equitable learning environments. very strong ratings. Your survey results were very positive. In fact, I think Dr. Felder's comment at the beginning, very pleased with the response. If I remember correctly, I think over 513 certified staff members from across the district completed the survey. So more than 80% completion, which is a very high return rate. So they're very valid and reliable when you've got those kinds of numbers. And the words that were used to describe your school system coming from your teachers and your folks that work in the schools, very overwhelmingly positive. The words were welcoming, respectful, safe, and warm. And your teachers, when they talked about their interactions with one another, said they were collaborative, they were personable, and very genuine. So extremely strong findings from all of your surveys and the survey results, and strong numbers, high numbers of responses. So very valid, reliable findings with those. Your student performance analysis was, you had consistent growth in reading and math, with 10 of your 13 schools actually exceeding your growth expectations. Your strategic plan, your hopes and dreams statements that, you got feedback from so many, and those hopes and dream statements actually became reality with your goals and your action plans and all that you set in your strategic plan. Very culturally responsive, equity teams in each school, focused on access and an opportunity for your, I think you classified it as historically resilient learners, and really focused on helping those. So your overall culture, that those standards dealing with that, had very strong ratings, a very positive theme with culture for learning. Okay. Move to the next one with the theme for leadership. Another positive theme: leaders engage professional staff members in developing, communicating, implementing, monitoring, and adjusting the continuous improvement process. And so you've got standards 7 through 15 that correlate directly to leadership. And you're focused on equity. You've got a collaborative culture, evidenced by the development of a very extensive strategic plan. I think the title of it's Empowering Excellence. You've got those 4 goal areas of teaching tomorrow's leaders, excellence and efficiency, exemplary staff, and empowering culture. So very detailed action plans to go with those 4 goal areas. Found evidence the leadership is very grounded and focused on serving students and putting students first. Very data-driven problem-solving leadership. The MTSS X collaborative leadership team, committed to continuous improvement, and just fully functional MTSS tiered interventions. And so just a very structured data analysis process that drives your school improvement, your continuous improvement process. So very strong, very positive leadership. And the next slide. So the next group, engagement of learning, those standards 16 through 23 that actually deal with engagement of learning. The thing that surfaced from all the evidence and the study of your documentation, professional staff members are focused on providing equitable opportunities for learners as they experience curriculum and instruction that emphasize the value of diverse cultures, backgrounds, and abilities. They're again putting students first. Very validated, it's a driving force that you put students first. You're focused on increasing student achievement, decreasing achievement gaps, increasing access for all students. You have a strong instructional framework, your 4 pillars of the equity framework, high quality core instruction, professional development. It's focused on diversity, there again, your Elliott scores, that's the tool that you use to measure the school environments that are most conducive to student learning. And of those 93 observations and the results of those, you could score as high as a 4.0, and the overall district average on those observations was a 3.09. Understand the network average, national, international network average of all schools and systems that go through this process. The network average is 2.75. Orange County Schools network was 3.09, so far above the international average. AP scores, more than 70% pass rate. Your ACT's above the average, your graduation rate's above average. So all of those things that are measurable outcomes that prove that you are committed to engaging learners. Okay. And the last thing, the theme for growth. Of course, those standards 24 through 30 dealing with the growth, and this is another. So 4 very strong positive themes for Orange County Schools. Professional learning is learner-centered, designed around the principles that professional staff members need opportunities to focus on improving pedagogical skills and knowledge to better address learners' needs and interest. You know, you have a robust professional development plan. You have your professional learning communities. You have the training to get those PLCs even better with Solution Tree. You have literacy and math coaches, coaching the coaches, just a very strong instructional framework, as I've already mentioned. You've got high yield instructional strategies, curriculum mapping, a laser focus on the whole child. So very data-driven professional development, and it's very learner-centered. So, you know, typically when you have those 4 things, some of them are negative, some are positive, maybe not as strong as the 4 were for you folks. But out of those things, if they're strong enough, you will end up with ratings that will cause for noteworthy practices for a school district to be applauded for. And then you'll have areas for improvement. And so the next slide, I will show you this noteworthy practice. So basically, let me say that as a part of the engagement review process, an institution, be it a school or a system, very likely could not have any noteworthy practices. To have a noteworthy practice, it means that it's not just being done well in that school system, but it's be noteworthy. You should be able to serve as a consultant at the international level, national, international level. You're doing it so well that you're doing it way above and beyond what's expected. And so it really is typical that a school system engagement review will result in no noteworthy practices. They will have some standards that they're doing very well in those standards, but you have to have several standards that you correlate together with ratings of 4s that will result in the practices being way over and beyond what's expected. So I'll tell you that Orange County Schools ended up with 2 noteworthy practices with several standards tied to these 2 noteworthy practices. It's very unusual that there will end up with 2 noteworthy practices. And so basically that's drawn from those strong themes and those 4 big areas of quality standards. So the first one, the institution has demonstrated a profound commitment to the implementation of ongoing practices, processes, and decision-making that improve learning and engage all stakeholder groups. You engage students, you engage teachers, you engage parents, you engage community. All your stakeholder groups are involved in the process. We've talked about the surveys, you got panorama surveys, you have teacher working condition surveys, you have cognitive surveys, and you don't just administer them, you've actually used them to make decisions, whether it's development of your strategic plan, looking at what the results, what are your stakeholders saying, and listening to them and using that information as part of your needs assessment process. Your performance data is indicative of this. Your new 5-year plan, Empowering Excellence, it's very equity oriented, it's very collaborative, it's very transparent. It's a true commitment to continuous improvement. And my old saying, and I think we've all heard it, is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you. But you folks have a very defined roadmap with buy-in from your stakeholder groups. That roadmap of this is where we are and this is where we want to be. And you have it mapped out as to what you're going to do. So a very noteworthy practice, a profound commitment to continuous improvement. So that is one of your noteworthy practices. And the next one, please. And the second one, the system's laser focus on a data-driven problem-solving approach and intentional professional development has resulted in improved instructional practices, advanced student learning, and the overall well-being of learners. There again, being repetitive from your positive themes, but very strong instructional framework. You're all about differentiated core instruction. You're all about data-informed decision-making, and then looking at the conditions for teaching and learning and making sure that you're maximizing those conditions. Your MTSS framework would be embedded in this practice, fully functional, your school-based PLCs, your coaches, the system level support, your focus on teaching efficacy, your aligned professional development, your high yield instructional strategies. You have a very balanced assessment system. You have formative pieces. You don't just wait till the end to the summative data, but you're progress monitoring and working all along the way. Basically overall with these two noteworthy practices, we found that you're focused on your strategic plan goals. You have a rigorous core instructional program. You're culturally relevant and responsive teaching as at the heart of what you're doing. You use data to personalize learning for students. And you focused on the social emotional well-being of students, the academic and non-academic areas. So overall, you're on the path to accelerated growth for every student in the system. So these are two very strong, very powerful, noteworthy practices that anybody from anywhere, nationally and internationally, could come to Orange County Schools and learn from you from these two noteworthy practices. And then the next slide is an area for improvement. And I will tell you that the requirement in the engagement review process for accreditation is that every institution will have a minimum of one area of improvement. All of us can improve. There may be those that think they're perfect and that there's not anything that they need to improve upon. But our philosophy with accreditation is the commitment to growth, commitment to improve, and that every report will include at least one area for improvement. There's something, and so many have numbers of areas of improvement. So for Orange County Schools, the area for improvement that we have is this one: expand opportunities for all student populations to recognize their talents and potential by supporting them in the acquisition of academic and non-academic skills important for their educational futures and careers. And that's a mouthful. And I want to preface this by saying the internal stakeholders that worked on the documentation, the rating of the standards, and all the preparation for the engagement review, you were extremely hard on yourselves. You actually rated yourselves in 9 different standards at a level 2. You rated yourselves much harder as we, the evaluation team, started digging through the data, looking at your documentation, looking at all the analyses from stakeholder feedback, from student performance data, from your observational data, we found we did not agree with your ratings. We did not end up with any 2 ratings. So you were much harder on yourselves than what we found evidence to be otherwise. With this area of improvement, we went back in and looked at some of the things that you said you wanted to most improve upon. And some of those dealt with, standard, this is sort of connected to standards 17 and 20 and 28, I think. But standard 20, I know that the system rated itself a 2 on that one. And that's dealing with helping all the students to be more self-confident learners and have a love of learning. You wanted to do a better job with that. And then standard 28 connects to this one. It's dealing with futures and career prep and helping students to work with their career goals and their graduation plans and be really prepared for their next level and so forth. And so we saw evidence with internships, with your CTE courses, with the AVID program, the IB program, the advanced placement program, your college advisors, all of your interventions that you have in place. But what you were wanting to do with this one is to really increase enrollment of certain subpopulations of students. And I think you spelled it out, your African-American students, your Hispanic students, that you wanted to have more of those enrolled in your AP and IB programs. And so you wanted to look at access for all students and to help everyone recognize their potential, their talents. And so I think with this, just looking at that, you've got 10 of your 13 schools that have exceeded growth. You had, I think, one of the highest, if not the highest, percentage of school systems in the state in terms of percentage of your schools exceeding the growth expectations that were set by the state. So your focus is targeting goals to decrease your different achievement gaps. And so that's sort of embedded in this one area improvement that you want it for all students. So collectively, you do an extremely strong job with preparing students for futures and careers. But you went into looking at all of your data and trying to target helping the achievement gaps, the areas of where there were gaps for certain groups. And so that's what this one really deals with. And that's part of your, whether it's students with English as a second language, whether it's your economically disadvantaged students, whether it's your exceptional children, but just working for all student populations. So that's something that every school strives for, every system, but I think you all have that targeted. And basically what we did as a team was to validate your findings with that. Okay, the next slide. The Index of Educational Quality is called the IEQ, and I think Dr. Felder made a brief mention of that at the beginning of this presentation. It's really an overall holistic measure of an institution, whether it's a school or a school system's overall performance. And the IEQs for any accredited institution with Cognia can range from 100 to 400. 400 is the perfect institution. There is no such. There is not ever, and I doubt there ever will be one that will score 400. That means you have no area to improve, that you met every standard at a level 4, whatever. So, but that's the range that the scores can fall in. The IEQ for Orange County Schools is 355. It's sort of a blow your socks off kind of score. As a retired school superintendent, I can tell you I would be extremely proud to have a rating of that. The average with this protocol for accreditation, the network average at this time is around 240 to 260. So, that's where most districts are falling within that range. So around a 250 IEQ is the average rating for a school system. And so you can see that you're well above, more than 100 points above the network average in terms of your ratings on culture, leadership, engagement of learning, growth in learning. And so I applaud you for, a job well done and for that kind of score. It really was very well deserved, and I can't say enough about a score of that kind. And basically, it is the commitment to improve. And what are you doing in terms of these standards with that commitment to improve? And so, very strong score. And the next slide, please. This one is sort of hard to read, but knowledge is opportunity, and it's a slogan that we at Cognia Accreditation have. It's a commitment to growing, commitment to getting better, never being satisfied with where you are. And I think knowledge is the key to success. And this whole accreditation process and engagement review is hopefully you have gained more knowledge about your institution. It forces you to analyze and dig deep with every aspect of these performance standards. And you have the knowledge and the action, take action, and that's what will move you forward. And will provide opportunity, of course, for our students, and that's what it's all about. And the last slide, I want to thank you. It's been my ultimate pleasure to be the lead evaluator for Orange County Schools. It was my luck of the draw that I got you folks, and it was just an absolute delight and a pleasure. I only wish for some other school systems that they were as focused on continuous improvement as Orange County Schools are. I look forward to hearing about your continued success. I know nothing but good is going to come from this school system and everything that's going on there. And I do these all the time. And I always, when I finish with one, I always ask myself the question. I have the mother of only one daughter, and I always ask the question, would I want my child to attend school in this school system? And when at the close of the day, if I can say yes, it makes me happy to have worked with that school system. And many times I'm sad and thinking, this really wouldn't be where I would want my child to be. And I'll have to say a resounding yes. I would be extremely pleased to have my daughter attend school in Orange County Schools. So with that, I will stop and respond to any questions, any comments. I know it's been a whirlwind, wide open kind of highlights of some of the findings, but the extensive report is just that. It's extensive and hopefully does a much better job than what I've done in a very quick review. But I wanted to hit the highlights of how important it was, how high your IEQ score was, how all four areas, your things were very strong, very positive. You have two very strong noteworthy practices that are connected to so many standards that were rated at a 4 level. And the one area improvement, you have every system has to have at least one area improvement, and you had that. You had just the one. And so lots to be proud of. And I will turn it over to the board chair and respond to any questions or comments that anyone has for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Allred. We're going to now see if there are any questions from the board. Sarah?
Well, thank you very much for that summary, and for what it's worth, it's helpful to hear, how this compares to other school districts in particular, because, we're only comparing ourselves. One question that I have is, and it was helpful to hear the areas where our district staff had sort of rated things lower, and then you all actually looked at the evidence and rated it higher. Personally, I really feel like if you are being hard on yourself like that, it's sort of a sign of like where you're focused for continuous improvement. But How do you ensure that sort of the self-review is accurate, is an accurate assessment? Sometimes it's hard to review ourselves.
Because that's one of the most important aspects of this whole process is a self-assessment, and that standards diagnostic with those 30 standards, that is where the true self-assessment comes in, along with the 3 analyses: student performance, stakeholder feedback, and so they can't just rate themselves a 4 or 3 or 2, whatever. They have to put the evidence in there, and then I have to look at the evidence, or the team has to look at the evidence. And part of my responsibility is to serve as a coach up until February 1st. All the documentation had to be entered in the workspace and locked down as of February 1st. So November, December, January, I served as a coach, and basically what the leadership team would do would be submit different aspects of it, of the self-assessment, and I would review it, and I would send back questions. They probably were very tired of hearing from me, but I would coach and say, did you really, have you looked at, or you need more evidence to prove this? And they, with each aspect, they also had to have theories of action. You know, if we did this, then the if-then statements. If we do this, then this was going to happen. If we, you know, and so it's, you know, being the math analytical background that I have, I probably was harder on them than some folks would have. I don't surface, I don't do holistic things. I like to dig in. And so I truly, hopefully not painfully so, but I truly forced them to analyze, and they were so good. They were, you know, they would send me things and I would try to react as quickly as possible to get feedback to them as so their group would work. So, but folks that are good educators truly, I find, are more critical of themselves. But the process forces that analysis to the point of it being an effective self-assessment. And if they rate themselves higher than they should, then it results in, okay, but your student performance doesn't correlate to your this, and this, or your, you know, your attendance or your discipline or your, you know, all the different measurable pieces that we have to use.
Great, thank you.
All right, other questions? Carrie?
I just wanted to say really quickly, I really appreciate your presentation, Dr. Allred. I had read the documents and the report and the context you provided, and sharing your, you know, your deep background in this work and in schools really helped bring a better understanding for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bonnie?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Allred. I was going to ask you if you wanted a math position. We have lots of them. Anyway, thank you so much for the presentation. I was really encouraged by the response from our teachers and staff, and actually, and to Sarah's point about how we rated ourselves more harshly than you did. I think that's very encouraging for me. I was curious if there's anything about the work that pointed into disparities between schools, because not all our schools are the same, and I don't know if that's really beyond the scope of this work, but was there any insight into certain standards that are not evenly practiced across our schools?
Well, when I say you, Orange County Schools is a systems accredited institution. So there are 2 ways to go about the institution. I kept referencing schools and or school systems. And so we encourage school systems or school districts to go to the systems approach to accreditation. And so my work with your particular school system, we looked at what was systems approaches, and we rightfully so there's beauty in having autonomy at the school level for making decisions. But as a school system, you give certain autonomy, but you've got to have systems that, so every elementary school, you know, if students move from one side to the other of the system or whatever, that they have similar curriculum. They have, same kinds of expectations. So I can't answer your question directly with this, because my initial comment about assurance is a system that is systems accredited signs off the assurance that every school is meeting the quality standards, that you have this, you have equitable resources going. Equal doesn't mean same. You have to get some more resources to certain schools than others. So they sign off on those assurances. So we didn't dig into individual schools as much, other than with the overall student performance data, because collectively now, for example, even with the stakeholder feedback, we actually got the report of the stakeholder feedback for this system. So those 500 and some odd responses that we got from teachers, we collectively hit a button and we could get the overall results. Then I think Dr. Felder and her team, we showed them how, and they went back in and pulled it out for individual schools so they could then study it, but for individual schools, and they have that access. But for our report and for my purposes of analysis, we collectively quantified everything as a system.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Yeah, just one more comment, which was, some of these ratings and the teacher survey and some of the, even though all of it sort of scored very high, the places where it was a little lower sort of resonated with me as places that we do have some work to do. So that was validating to see. Because it's a system focused on continuous improvement, I know we'll keep working on those things. But also just wanted to say, I know that putting this together for all of the people on the district side was quite a lot of work on top of the regular work that they're doing, pulling all of this evidence. So just thank you to everyone who took the time to do that.
It was an unbelievable amount of work, many long hours and a concentrated time, because by the time I started working with you folks in November, to pack all of that in from November until everything was due on February 1st. And then anything after February 1st was the leadership presentation and interviewing, but all that documentation, all of that, reviewing of the standards and what are we doing here, and looking at all the evidence for each of those individual standards times 30. It was a monumental amount of work, and they did a yeoman's job with it and took it very personal with getting things in and getting it right and getting it on time and redoing. And so very commendable job with the leadership team.
All right, any other questions from anyone? All right, thank you so much, Dr. Allred. Thank you for coming tonight and helping us go through all the data. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and I wish you the best. It's been my pleasure.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, next we have our 2023-2024 school year allotment process update.
Good evening, Dr. Albertson, Ms. Purcell, Dr. Felder. This will be a very brief presentation because much of the information in this presentation we have already begun. The allotment team goal number one is provide transparency and a clear communication around our allotment process to all stakeholders. It's also to ensure that we have equitable distribution of human resources or human capital across the organization. And then moreover, just to make certain that our principals do have a voice within this process. And then also at the conclusion of this, our goal is to make a recommendation to the superintendent regarding any additional human resources or additional considerations will be needed in the budget process. Next slide. So where are we? And so some backstory to this process. There are a lot of ingredients that take place, as we all know, when making a cake. So as we begin to talk about our allotment process, there are some backstory or some ingredients that are needed. For example, The intent forms are a very huge, important process, particularly now more than ever, since we are experiencing teacher shortages across the state, across North Carolina, and across the United States of America. So those intent forms are sent out. And what we try to gauge there is to get a pulse on who is returning next school year, or either who wants a transfer or who will be retiring. So that particular document has went out. It is an electronic document from the standpoint that all staff are required to complete the intent form, and that means all staff. Currently, the intent document, we have about 800 staff members that have completed that document. That is not where we want to be. So as a result of that intent data, I have shared the intent document with all principals, with all hiring managers. The document does have tabs that includes each school, each department, and we have strongly encouraged our principals and hiring managers to have those discussions with staff, whether or not they are returning. Another thing that we added to the intent process is, as one knows, when you intend to transfer, that's a form of intent. So the transfer process is part of that electronic document. So the transfer window will take place from April 27th to June 30th. And we have been meeting with principals to review staff rosters, intent forms, and very much tonight you all saw, you approved our 4-year and 1-year contracts. So we had to have conversations with principals regarding performance of staff. All that takes place in this process. Next slide. So on tomorrow, no, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. And also some of the things that we take into effect when we're looking at allotments. We're looking at enrollment data. We're looking at, as again talked about, staffing vacancies. And then we're also looking at the supports that we get from AIG, ELL, EC. Those pieces are really important. Next slide. So on tomorrow, April the 11th and April 12th, we will start our allotment meetings at 8 a.m. in the morning. We will have our allotment meetings all day long. Myself, there is a team of us, Mr. Averton, Ms. Raff. We also have representatives, EC coordinator, the EC director, CTE. Our whole team will sit down tomorrow with principals. These meetings are with principals so we can review their allotments. At this meeting, principals will also be given the opportunity, and a document was shared with them that where they can request positions that are not in their allotment. Also, I said April 18th, contract renewals were presented to the board. We presented some contracts tonight. And then our first electronic contracts are slated to be sent out on May the 1st. And June 1st, employees who need to be transferred, we will start looking at that process. And actually that process will be taken until the end of June. I think this concludes. Next slide, Ryan. And that's pretty much our overview. So I do hate that we didn't get before you beforehand, but we have started this process. We are well on our way. Mr. Obley is sitting there, as well as Ms. Rav. We'll be all meeting tomorrow to start this process.
Just for clarity from the board, you had mentioned my name. I'm not part of that meeting.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't mean to. I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
I'm
you looked
thinking
at me
about
and said
him,
it, and everybody
but
looked
it
at me. I was
is-
like, I am
it is-
so not in that
yes,
meeting or that process.
You were looking at me like, what's she talking about?
Yeah,
But,
I was like, what?
but that's what happens when it's 8:59,
Check my calendar.
Mr. Atherton. That's what happens.
It's okay.
But I do apologize.
No. I just wanted them to know. No.
Yeah, no, he's not on the team, guys. But are there any questions? Yes,
Sarah?
ma'am.
Just one. So historically, the intent form, when folks don't fill that out at first, sometimes people just get busy, but should we draw anything from like how many people have or have not returned?
I don't draw. And I don't mean that to be funny. I don't, because I've been doing this for so long in previous districts that I've worked in. Some people play the game from the standpoint of if they're interviewing with another district and they're waiting on that district to give them board approval. So therefore, we may not know until the end.
So that is someone I'm worried about, like, just.
Yeah, I mean.
That's what I'm asking about, is like, is it,
I mean.
do you have any sense of how many people who don't turn in the form do end up?
I mean, we can strongly ask them, but at the end of the day, we can't make anyone do anything. We can strongly encourage, we can talk about, how many teacher vacancies and how much there is a teacher shortage, but even without the teacher shortage, historically, and I'm looking at Ms. Purcell, who was a former principal, there are folks that will wait and hold that until the last minute. I strongly encourage principals who say, well, I heard that Mr. Atherton is going to retire, or he's going to leave. And I tell them, until we get that piece of paper in our hand, we can't act on that. Are there any other questions?
Carrie?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's all right, just a quick follow-up to Sarah's, Ms. Hatcher. The number that stayed in my head was roughly 80%. So it says in one of the slides that March 17th was when the intent forms close, and it was around that point that you said you heard from something like 800 staff
No,
members? and we
that
have
is the
1,000?
current number. When it closed at the initial close date, we were roughly around 500.
Okay, and so
I have
now
not
what number
closed
did you
it.
say?
800.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard. Thank you.
Yeah, I have not closed it. Principals are checking with staff. I'm following up with principals because we really need to know as much as we can about who's intending to stay or retire or whatever, that will help us with. Basically, the whole thing is to help us make guided staffing decisions. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Hauser.
So can you just help me, because there's two parts of this. One is the allotment, which is the positions. To me, that's the positions, and there's state positions, and there's local positions, and then there's the actual filled positions. So when do we have come to agreement with our principals on the allocated positions?
Okay, so I may be calling on my colleagues, but I want to be clear. What we give them tomorrow are projections. Do I have that right, Mr. Aberle? Those are projections. We will not have accurate, and let me back up. Ms. Raff did receive the allotment from the state, but again, those are projections. We will not have actual numbers until around about August, when we actually count the students that are in the seats. So we don't have those numbers until then. And this is the process I spoke of early on back in maybe October, when I came and started talking about a staffing update and how important it is that we are working from projections. And also too, we had to really do some education, because before COVID, the state gave us forgiveness, so everyone just received the same thing. So now that we're not there, these projections are very pivotal in this process. Mr. Atherton, is there anything you or Mr. Raff would like to add?
I think she met me again, so I'm
She
going to
did.
jump in.
She did, it's okay. I take it a compliment, so.
Mr. A.
So with the projections, obviously, we start in December when we bring to you the open and closed schools for transfers, discretionary transfers for the upcoming school year, because that does impact the number of students that are going to be in seats per schools, and it does have an impact on the allotment process. So we are using projections. We also use the state projections. We use the county projections, and we use our in-house projections so that we look. Keep in mind that we are looking at average daily membership with enrollments. It fluctuates. And so what we try to do is to make sure we're prepared for the number of students that will be in the schools. And it is a difficult process, these early stages, the next 3 months, because students are enrolling, students are withdrawing. Individuals, like Ms. Hatcher said, not only employees who are leaving and may take their children with them. We have new families moving in, and so there's lots of number changes. We watch the allotments and the projections daily. It's a joint process, as she said, between student assignment, finance, and human capital. With our principals, they will have access to their allotment update sheets. We review those. And then July 1st, when Power School switches over to the new school year, we will actually use at that point in time the actual physical students we have enrolled for the upcoming school year. So kindergarten registration is very important. Families register and get students enrolled now. Individuals that are coming into the district or know they're coming in the district, go ahead and register. We can go ahead and get you ready for the next school year, so we know that. New housing, new development, those are all things we're monitoring, watching, because they can impact numbers. As Ms. Hatcher said, there's when you talk about the student generated teacher allotments, that's one thing, but there's also other allotments through the process. Without getting too complicated, we have position allotments that are set as well, and then we also have months of employment that indicate, and so we have to look through all of those, not just the position allotments, but also those other program areas and any additional allotments. And then keep in mind as well, schools through the school improvement team and Title I schools, especially with dollars that they have, they also have the ability to work to add additional staffing based on their school improvement plan as well.
Just a follow-up. So from our perspective, I appreciate all this work, but in about a month or two, we're going to be forced to make some budget decisions, maybe some difficult ones. And if we don't have a basic understanding about how the resources are being allotted to schools and where some of the disparities or some of the shortfalls might be, it's going to be harder for us. So is there a way, I realize it's not perfect and everything changes every day, but is there a way for us to get a sense, considering local, state, and federal funding, what the allotments look like across our schools?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we do, because we have to project. Now, there is a point in time when you have vacancies and you have to make a decision. Do you allow those vacancies to be filled, or you wait until you have the students in? The other process is we may have staff that need to relocate buildings, because you may have one building that has X number of staff member already hired and in place, but those staff members may be needed in another building. And so that's why it's important. The intent forms, not only if you're returning or not, but also are you requesting a transfer to another building, become very important. But yes, we always through this process have numbers and have projections and have an update internally.
So when might we see something? Will we see something, say, before the end of May, before we get our budget, our final budget from the county?
So typically, we have the planning allotment from the state. We have the allotment processes that run through April. We finish up student transfer hearings in April, the first week of May, and then we should know then what our numbers look like with kindergarten registration or anything else to date. And like I said, at that point, we're monitoring every week. When we get into July towards August, staff's monitoring every single day. I mean, as students are coming in or students withdrawing, that's critical information. So Catherine Mauer, student assignment coordinator, works with our Power School coordinator and our data managers, and it really is a behind the scenes operation, keeping track and account of the students coming in and going.
Thank you.
So I just have one question. So next year, when we're redistricting, so will we do a different process for trying to figure this out? Because we will have shifts to.
Yeah, I'd recommend two. One would be your traditional process is what we're going through now. And then the second would be to look at any processes impacted by reassignment scenarios or planning, which the board should have those in the fall and voted on. So you would know any assignment changes that are going to impact the next school year. So you would have both of those to be able to make staffing decisions and allotment decisions. Including, information updates on new housing developments and the charter high school that was approved for 600 seats that's scheduled to open in 23. We'll be watching that as well to see any impacts on the school district. Now, whether they actually really open in 23, but that's what the charter said, the application that was submitted.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So next we have our first action item, which is the contract approval for financial wellness and efficiency study. And Dr. Moore, the floor is yours. Okay, I just got a text that she had to go offline, and she'll be joining back in a little bit.
Can I go to 5-minute break? We just move it down to.
Yeah, we can. If the pleasure of the board, if we could just move that down to after the local operating budget discussion. Is that acceptable?
Do we need a motion to do that?
I believe we do, since it is a change in the agenda.
And a 2/3 vote, yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to make that change, to move it down one?
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. 2, 4, 5, yep. We got 5 votes. All right, so we'll jump straight over to the local operating budget.
Okay, I'm going to stay here if that's okay.
That's perfect.
So thank you very much. Good evening, Chair Atherton, Vice Chair Purcell, board members, and superintendent. We are here this evening to get a approval of what will become the board's local operating budget for fiscal year 24 that we will provide as our funding requests to our county commissioners. Next slide. I'm going to roll through this fairly quickly, just focusing on the changes. Again, we are funded based upon average daily membership. That is composed of what DPI projects for us, as well as we're fortunate that our commissioners do fund our charter students in full for our district. But we do have to take out those students who are in our seats that are not districted to Orange County schools. So looking at all of those factors, our projected student base for the upcoming fiscal year has a decrease of 20 in comparison to the previous year. Our continuation budget for fiscal year 24, which is to continue operations at our current level, is $2.2 million or $277 per pupil. Last year, with a 2.5% salary increase that was projected, our continuation request was an increase of $137 per pupil. This is also the first year that we have intentionally brought forward utility and fuel increases to ensure that we try to get some assistance in funding those items, because those costs are continuing to increase very rapidly in comparison to what we have seen in other years. So again, the highlights of this budget are increasing the supplements for our classroom teachers, recognizing longevity in Orange County schools, providing additional supplements for Title I schools, exceptional children teacher and TAs and math teachers, as well as trying to focus on that classified salary scale that we implemented this year, increasing it to a 1% increase. We were able to get 3/8% in this budget, and we're focusing very hard to get a 1%. Next slide. Next one. So this was a requested change based upon the board's feedback that they were interested in seeing the supplements changed for those lower years, increased, and decreased a little bit for the upper years. So as a result of the board's request, we went with 17.5% for 0 to 13 years, and decrease the 20-plus years from 25% to 21%. Those changes netted us an increase over the previous superintendent's recommended budget of $63,300. This request now comes to a per pupil increase of $251. The next item is also a change. The board had expressed interest in looking at a flat 2%, not a 2%, $2,000 one-time supplement for classified staff with 20-plus years of Orange County Schools service. It was asked that we focus on the classified staff, as the supplement changes in the previous slide that you just saw would encompass all of the certified staff, allowing them to see an increase for those years of service. Previously, this number was 105 when we looked at both of our certified and our non-certified or licensed and not licensed staff. If we just look at our unlicensed staff, it is 49 individuals who would qualify of having 20 years or more service within Orange County Schools. So this would be a budget increase of $131,000. Next slide. So I'm not going to hit this slide other than there is no change from the superintendent's recommended budget, where we look at providing an additional 2% supplement for our student-facing staff in our Title I schools. That would be an increase in a budget request of $96,000. I'm sorry, it's okay. So we had the 2% supplement for our Title I schools, and that is $76,000. The additional supplement on the previous slide of $96,000 was also for student-facing staff. This scenario that we're looking at here would be encompassing the anticipated Title I schools that we anticipate qualifying for Title I status next fiscal year, which includes an additional elementary school, and which, if the board chooses and the district elects to update the Title I plan to encompass our middle schools, that would require an additional $76,000 to implement this 2% supplement. Next slide. So also was no change from the superintendent's recommended budget for an additional 2% supplement for our exceptional children teachers and TA positions in all of our schools. That would require an additional $143,000 in our local per pupil ask. Next slide. $2 million is the request that would be needed to fund our classified salary scale to get us to a 1% step increase on each of the years of experience. That would equate to an increase of $250 per pupil. So in summary, the items that are highlighted here in orange are the ones that changed from the superintendent's recommended budget. So changing the supplement tiers for our certified staff would require an additional $2 million based upon the percentages that we previously shared there, with 17.5% up to the 21%. If the board chooses and elects to implement a $2,000 annual supplement for our classified staff for 20 years or more of service, that's an additional $131,000. It was also expressed when the board provided feedback and interest in determining what would be needed to fund each elementary school to allow them to have 2 teacher assistants per grade level. So at looking at what we currently have already in our buildings at these schools and what it would require to get to where each of them had 2 TAs per grade level, that would require an additional 1.1 million or roughly 25 additional TAs in comparison to what we have in our schools right now. All right. Again, here, the items that were included to ask for funding from our commissioners was the pre-K expenditures shifting from Title I to the local budget to facilitate us being able to pick up those middle schools that qualify for Title I status if we elect to do that, and to minimize the impact to our current Title I designated elementary schools. Adding an additional English language learner teacher, an additional 5th grade dual language teacher at New Hope, supporting our teachers who are applying for their national board certification by paying 50% of the application fee. An add is 3 additional school nurses in order to ensure that we allow visibility into what we need at each of our schools. And because of the way that we are funded from the county commissioners, I felt like it was prudent that we go ahead and add that to our request. So even though these positions are currently being funded by ESSER, and we have ESSER funding available to us through September of '24, we do need to highlight what our needs are in our schools and what we need from our county commissioners in regards to those nurses. So those 3 additional school nurses have been added here, which would be $213,000. And the final, well, no, this is not the final, but the next item that was a change here is there was also an interest in adding funding for district-sponsored school field trips within North Carolina. This was based upon looking at funding students in all of our schools, grades K through 12. The estimate here was based upon looking at field trips that are currently being taken at each of our schools, as well as those that were aligned with curriculum to start a pilot, realizing that, you know, this program can evolve and will evolve each year, but to begin with these field trips to provide exposure to our students. Based upon that list, most of them were within less than a 50-mile radius. There were some outliers, factoring in a $3.45 per mile reimbursement for the bus use, as well as $15 an hour for our bus drivers. I estimated $30,000 because most of the field trips that we have initially started looking at again are within Alamance, Orange, and Durham County, not traveling very far. Next slide. The final changes here that were requested from the board were the Sidekick Academy pilot. I factored in the cost for this for all 13 of our schools, realizing that it's $75,000 per school. That is why that cost is at that level, realizing that this is an opportunity where if that's something that we want to dial back and pilot at elementary, middle, and high, or just pilot at one school, we have the option to do that. But what is included here is looking at all 13 of our schools. And then we talked about this at our last budget and capital needs about adding a extracurricular supplement for our STEAM, STEM, and robotics at each of our 13 schools, which would equate to approximately $28,000 to implement that. Next slide. So in summary, the budget provided here for your approval is a $1,256 per pupil increase over our current funding, or $10,054,000. Last year, we asked for our per pupil increase in fiscal year '23 was $1,027, based upon our expansion items and our continuation budget, or an increase of $229 per pupil. No, excuse me, $676 per pupil was our increase last year. Finally, the last item is, this is not for approval, this is just for information, giving you a look at projected budget for our other sources for next year. If you look at the items that are in blue, those are what we categorize as our general funds, which would be your state, local, and federal, which are comprised of 73% of our total budget. The other items are capital. Then we have our special funds, which include our enterprise funds, and our restricted fund 8, which are those funds that are grant funded, like Burroughs Welcome Grant, NC Pre-K, et cetera. And then totally pulled out from all of those are the federal COVID relief funds, which primarily we're down to ESSER 3. Looking at going into next year with $4.9 million, taking into account that $1 million is budgeted out of that for the summer programs that will start this summer. And of those other funds, roughly 27% of the total budget is encompassed in those. So what questions do you have, or additional information do you need to approve this budget for submission to the county commissioners?
So if I could just facilitate for a moment, if we could agree on a couple of things before we talk about the specifics. I believe we agreed the budget committee really was looking towards submitting everything and going forward with that. Are we in agreement that that's what we're going to do? So we're going to go with whatever at the end, all items going forward as here's our request. I just want to get that out of the way, because if that's not true, then we're going to go line by line, and I just want to know which one we need to do. So,
That's what we said.
okay, well, that was at the committee. I just want to confirm.
Well, it was at the committee of the full board.
Right, but the
Right.
board's binding.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, got it.
okay, so with that, then I would recommend moving to any specific questions or changes that anybody would like to see, and I'll step back and see what questions or changes that anyone has. Andre?
I would definitely like to say that I would like to change sidekicks from being all 13 to just one school for $75,000 as a piloted school.
Got it. We will make sure that change is incorporated.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, other changes? Sarah?
I have something, it's just a technical suggestion on the flat supplement for 20 plus years of service. At the top, it says flat $2,000 one-time supplement. And so I think you should take out the one-time, because we're talking about staff receiving that annually after that point. Is that correct? That's where we
The
landed on.
recurring, that's a proposed recurring supplement is what.
For those staff members, right? Yes.
One time annually. Yeah, we can have that conversation.
Yes, so I would take out the 1X, the one time in there, just so it's, maybe I would say flat additional $2,000 supplement to just so it's clear that they receive it every year.
Just for clarity, we're saying that the board would like for this supplement to be given every year to those, all staff, well, in this scenario, it's the classified staff, every year, if you have 20 or more years of service, you would get $2,000. And I just want to make sure I'm clear.
That was the intent. I personally, I have a little trouble with it. I would really like to see a one-time, I'm mostly concerned about our teachers who are being recruited through bonuses. And so I would like to see a one-time bonus for our veteran teachers, which isn't in here at all. But that's something I remember mentioning last time, but I really would like to see a one-time bonus for a veteran teacher of, I'm going to make up, I think, $2,500. That's just a thought, and I don't know if it should be 15 or 20 years with Orange County Schools, not based on years of experience, but their years with the school district. These are our really devoted teachers that don't want to leave, but are being recruited aggressively.
Sarah?
Just responding to that point, like what would stop someone from just waiting a year and then taking a recruitment bonus the next year? Like,
Well,
I just.
I think we've been good about about paying the bonuses out over a period of time, right? It doesn't have to all be paid out right away. I think that's what we've been doing up to now with our signing bonuses,
That is
right?
correct. With our recruitment and retention bonuses, it is a recruitment tool, but it is also a retention tool. You get half of it up front, then you get 25% of it when you return the previous year in October, and then the following year after that, you get the final 25% in October.
Yeah, I would also just like, I don't know if you all noticed, but Durham, I think, is giving everyone that, I think, a $1,000 bonus if they're on the payroll in October, which is but that's a slightly different, but yes, I think that a process like that, which means whatever the number is, might not all be incurred next year, right?
So to provide a $2,500 one-time bonus just to our certified staff with 15 years or more of service, I believe is what I was asked, would be roughly $300,000.
Okay, well, Andre just gave us 900, so. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I think it's important. I'm happy to tweak the process, but we have gotten so much feedback from our veteran teachers that it's hard for them. So.
I mean, to me, we're putting money in the increased supplements, which will be in every year, they'll experience that every year, getting competitive with other districts, so.
Yeah, because I'll just say this from just backing up and looking at this. This seems like I could get hired as a math teacher walking into the district of 21 years, pick up a 5K bonus, and then get another 2,500 bonus because I'm now above the 15 years.
Oh, no,
And
you
then-
can't. No.
It doesn't say that. I mean, it
The
says,
proposal is people with 15 years working for Orange County Schools. So you can't walk in the door and be eligible for the bonus. You have to have years.
so we waived that. We came in and we said, we are going to give you credit for wherever you worked and you automatically
That's the
go.
supplement. This is a one-time bonus for teachers who work for Orange County Schools for 15 years or more. One time. This is for the people who, instead of going to work for Durham and getting a bonus, we're saying, stay with us and we'll give you a bonus. Because that's what, so I don't want to confuse it with the other supplement.
Okay, I'm not, I assume we can track that, but now we're going to have two different groups of people.
It's one-time payment,
Oh.
one-time payment. Again, think of it as a back end of it. Instead of getting a signing bonus, you get a bonus for staying.
And I think it's what I've heard is that teachers that have been here for a while are saying, we're getting nothing.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody else is getting something and we're getting nothing. Do y'all not appreciate us being here and staying? And I think that's what.
Right. So it pays to leave, it doesn't pay to stay. That's the bottom line.
I don't have a problem putting it on there because the amount is so much.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Exactly.
I
That's
mean, we'll
right.
have to have that discussion later, but there are concerns with doing that for me. But we can add it. It's
Yeah, there's so many variables still.
over $10 million.
I just want it noted so that we have it, so we can discuss it when we have to. I have a question. I have other things, but I have a question. So Orange County, why would Orange County want to pay for our pre-K? If we're asking them to pick up $500,000 for our pre-K, what we've been using Title I money for, why would Orange County want to do that? It's a question.
Yes, so thank you for that question, Ms. Hauser. One really valid reason is because that is a focus in our county, correct? Our County Board of Commissioners have been focused on pre-K, and this would be an opportunity for them to support pre-K in Orange County schools. And so that would allow us to leverage those dollars towards, as Ms. Rath said, the 2 middle schools that are trending upwards with regards to their free and reduced price meals rates.
Okay, we wouldn't be putting any more kids in pre-K, we wouldn't be expanding, all we're doing is asking them to pay what, right? So.
That's correct.
I have just a short question, Ms. Rath. So I'm looking at slide 50, and so just want to clarify for myself. So where it says increased years of experience, step increase on current unlicensed classified scales to reflect a 1-step increase, that is, or 1% step increase, that is completing the 1% from the 3/8%. So is that like an additional 5/8%? Okay, thank you.
It's not an additional 1%. It's what we need to get to 1%.
Great, thank you.
I'd like one other question on the STEM supplement, or the STEP, I think it's a stipend, the way you've proposed it. So we heard River Park asking us for a STEM teacher, I thought. They said, doesn't work for us to have STEM after school, it's not accessible to everyone, we want a STEM teacher in our school. So I didn't know, when it was a conversation about maybe putting a STEM, I think Grady Brown already has a STEM teacher, am I correct? They have, and I don't know.
From my perspective, again, my visibility is just based upon, I was not able to locate a STEM teacher that is classified that way in our payroll system. There is a district STEM coordinator, but in regards to a job that is classified as a STEM teacher, I was not able to determine that there are any of those that are classified in our systems that way now.
Yeah, so STEM, like Central used to have a STEM coordinator, so, okay, so is the request for a stipend, or I'm hearing the request is for a STEM coordinator, and maybe.
So the superintendent's budget was a request for a supplement, an additional supplement to provide that to each of our 13 schools. It was not an additional position that was in the superintendent's recommended budget.
Thank you so much for that, Rhonda, and thank you for your question, Ms. Hauser. So what I understand, programs like FIRST and what we heard about tonight, those are extracurricular programs that we want to continue, and actually we want them to grow, and they are beginning to grow organically. So much like we have extracurricular supplements for coaches and other extracurricular positions that staff take on, this would be one. So we know that some folks are currently doing that work really as volunteers, and that's something we want to grow. So that's different from a STEM teacher position. Now, to the point around, because that is an issue, right? We may have children who want to participate after school and can't. I would think if it's a transportation issue, that may be something we
we may be able to help address. But certainly it is growing organically in our schools, and that's something we would want to continue to nurture and support.
Yes.
Yeah, let me add in, because I did have a lengthy conversation about this, as Dr. Felder is saying, is the request from River Park is to have a STEM elective. And that way, throughout the day and throughout the week, there's more kids that could go in there, because what they were explaining to me, because I didn't understand how it worked, was that if it's after school, they have one person that can only manage so many kids. And then if it's a elective, then they can manage that many kids over the day, over the week, and then they could reach more kids that could want to do the extracurricular activities, or at least give them a foundation of how STEM is and how STEM works. So to Dr. Felder's point, I think there's a couple of different things here. One is the extracurricular robotics team, and the other was kind of a STEM class and an elective in that students can choose to do that, and that would reach more students than what they can just handle in the after school, is how I understood
No,
it.
you're absolutely correct. I would just add that the idea of having a STEM teacher to do just what Mr. Atherton described, I believe we will hear, and great, we will hear from more schools wanting that type of position in their school. Yeah, but it is actually both that we are trying to get at.
I would be perfectly okay adding that to here,
To adding,
a teacher, just to have the number, like how much it is.
right, one teacher or one teacher per school, or
One per
one?
school.
One per school.
Because I think, Ms. Purcell, you had mentioned, yeah. Ms. Purcell recommended that
That's what I thought.
if we only put one and we don't have one in middle school, we'll have a void. And then if we don't offer it in other elementaries, then you've got the issue of how are we servicing or giving the opportunity on all of those? But I believe that was the original
Yeah,
recommendation.
that was how it all came about after Central started theirs. Was what are we doing with those kids when they come to middle school? Because there are students that are going to be very interested in it, and we need to be able to facilitate their needs and everybody else's, and build a program.
And actually heard that from students in the first program, a desire from them to start in elementary and have access in middle. Yes.
And that feeds into the engineering program at the high school, as well as robotics.
Sarah?
One wondering I have about this is just which parts of it are sort of about our budgeting, sort of like district directives versus like what's happening at the school and like school-led initiatives. So like Orange Middle, for example, I know has like biotechnology now as sort of an area, which is STEMish, obviously, but it's not robotics specifically. And so I'm not quite sure to what extent that's like the principals in their purview about what sort of curriculum they have versus like a district initiative. I just don't know how we think about that.
Well, I would think that if they had if they could get an extra teacher and they were doing biotech instead of robotics or whatever, that they would want to pick up on that and build the program that they had started with that, I would think, but I don't know.
If y'all don't mind, let me intervene. So we're not implementing it tonight. This is a placeholder, and when we get to that discussion of here's what we have, then we would probably request more details, or does this make sense? How would this fit in? And go through maybe the budget committee or others to get that level of detail. Tonight, we're just putting a placeholder in the event we would do that at some point.
Very aspirational budget.
I agree at 10 million,
Yeah.
it's a rounding error at this point, but we would need a number tonight to physically do that. Are you, okay?
Time check 9:45.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Are you able to?
So, yes, I will provide what I have heard to this point to make sure there's clarity in regards to what changes have been asked for in this budget, that we would then need a motion to approve the changes and to approve the budget so that it can be submitted to the county commissioners by April the 18th as our funding request. So,
I got one change.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So I have one additional change, which I'm sure everybody
come on,
knows what it is.
it's your budget.
Yeah, so the one change I would like to modify is for the district field trips. Instead of being 30K, I would like to have that at 100K. And the reason for that is to include the fifth grade trips that would be to DC as an option. Again, it's a placeholder. I think 100K is more, 300?
I was going to go, because honestly, to me, in the spirit of development, it's so important that we get some of our kids out to field trips early. And I'd really like to see early field trips, and I think it's a really big deal.
I'm
if our
okay
kids
with
aren't.
300.
I mean, we're throwing, we could cut it down the middle and go for 2.
It's a day trip. It's a day trip today. I'm okay with either.
2 is
All
fine.
right,
So
so,
increasing it from 30,000 to 200,000.
mhm. It's a big number.
I just want to also acknowledge Sarah's point. It's an important one that we're talking about the STEM resource, but if and when we get to it, there's got to be a conversation with the schools about how they want to, what resource do they really want? But, right, that's coming.
Yeah,
But
I
STEM
think-
is a great placeholder.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is, the administration's job to recommend programs and things. Obviously, Dr. Felder, obviously the district's been very supportive of robotics, but just making sure we play our role in that and schools play their role and that the central office plays their role.
I mean, in the budget, there are 3 additional staff for New Hope. Is that their STEM person?
Or science.
That's for dual language.
Or science, I mean, could be whatever. I'm just wondering, just trying to be a little bit more, and it's really equal, not equitable.
And Ms. House, are those positions at New Hope are to support the district program that's at the school, and that would be dual language?
Understand. So would they do that? Is there, like the way their dual language, Central used to be a STEM school, had a STEM coordinator position that's no longer there. But because of New Hope's focus on dual language, are they interested in STEM? That's really, or not. I mean, that's really the essence of the question.
Are there any other questions about the
Doesn't-
dollar amount? Because we still
Yeah,
have several other
that's fine.
items and another
That's fine.
closed session.
And Mr. Atherton, if I may, just a quick clarifying question and maybe suggestion for the board. So I heard several ideas floated for modifications to the budget, but I didn't hear like votes on those items. Is the intent here do you want to kind of walk through and summarize and see if we've got a majority support on each of those items? And then also, is the plan to make those adjustments and come back at the next meeting for one last look so that staff can vet these numbers and get them? I mean, the deadline for submitting the budget's May 15, so we do have time.
April the 18th is when we have to provide it to our county commissioners. That is what statute has May, but our county has requested that we provide it to them by April the 18th because the first meeting that we go to where the school boards ask for funding, make the presentation to the county commissioners is April 24th, 27th, somewhere in that time frame.
Okay.
So they need it in time to turn it around to be able to put it in an abstract for commissioners for that meeting.
So that's not statutory, but that if you want to honor that request, that would mean options could include a special meeting just for a final look to make sure, because, we're talking some big numbers. It might make sense to give finance and a chance to run stuff, make sure that what you see put together and that the board still supports it. At a minimum, I'd suggest you kind of walk through any changes to the budget and just vote on them and make sure that there's majority support for each item. I heard some ideas suggested that with some nods, but it wasn't clear to me, what is the final budget?
Yeah, I'd like to take the negative approach, where to hear from anyone that has a concern with an item, because there's a lot of items and I don't want to get caught up on, is
Right.
it X dollars or Y dollars or Z dollars? Because again, we still have to come back with this huge list when we find out what our total is, and then decide what are we really going to do, because it's not even going to be close to this list, because they're not going to get us 10 million. So this
Right.
is kind of the full list of all items, but I'd rather ask if there are any items that anybody would like to discuss they have concerns with, and if there isn't, then we'll move forward with consensus and confirm with Rhonda on the changes, because she's been actively modifying it to get us a total amount to move forward with.
So yes, so one way or another, we're going to get a vote or
Yes.
a consensus on any changes. That's my point, is that.
Yes.
Tonight.
Okay.
Right now.
We're doing
Tonight.
it
Okay,
right
that's
now.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's my
Okay,
suggestion.
so from the board's perspective, any items that we have discussed that you would like to see changed or don't agree with, and you'd like to discuss, let's have the discussion now versus going through each one.
Should we just go through them as a summary? Right? Can we just go through, do you want a summary of all of them, or you got it?
I think we need to get for clarity for the minutes and just to
I
make sure
think
that
for
what the board's
clarity,
voting on.
I agree with
Yeah.
Neil. I've captured them, but I believe that's what we need to do to ensure that we're very clear on your wishes.
Sure, I just wanted to make sure if there's someone that had a burning concern with any item, we talk about it now and then go through the list. The intention is to go through the list and confirm.
So Andre is the fiscal conservative, and he was going from 975 for sidekicks to 75.
Got it.
Sidekicks pilot.
Reducing our number $900,000.
Right, but that's an example. That was one board member suggestion. So are we going to get a vote on that, or consensus on each item, or what's the plan to make sure that there's a
We were
majority
going
of
to
the board
go through
supports that
all of
change?
them.
And then vote on the slate altogether?
And then we'll go back.
Okay.
First, we want to agree on what they are, and then I think
Got
then
it.
you want to see if there's a
So
problem.
Dr. Felder has a comment.
Just wondering, looking at the clock, might you want to extend now, or do you want to wait till you get a little closer to 10?
A little closer to 10,
Okay.
please go.
I think I can go through this really quick. So sidekicks, one-time retention bonus for teachers with 15 or more years,
Oh, do you have the amounts?
$2,500, is that okay?
So what I captured that I need clarity on is every board member to vote on $2,500 for teachers with 15 years or more service in Orange County schools. And is that going to translate to classified staff as well, or are classified going to remain at what's in the budget presented here at $2,000 for 20-plus years of service?
So the retention bonus for teachers is to buttress our staff against being recruited by other school districts, right? It is a back end to a signing bonus. It's if you come, you get a signing bonus. If you stay, you get a retention bonus. That's
Sorry,
what that is.
the question at hand is, does the board agree with those two approaches? One is a 2,500 for
2,500 for licensed staff,
Time.
one time annually,
One time.
not
one time,
annually.
Not annually, one time.
Okay, so a one-time retention bonus for licensed staff of $2,500 with 15-plus years service within Orange County schools equates to $300,000.
Okay. Would it all be payable next year, or would some of it go to the second year?
Please not, let's
Oh,
not work
okay,
on the
just-
details.
okay,
Let's just-
fine,
if we- If we
300,000.
don't agree on the idea, we can move on.
Okay.
So thoughts from other board members about this? Does anybody have heartache over this item, whether it's on the list or not?
I mean, I have concerns about it from a, like, the idea isn't even fully fleshed out perspective. And I am concerned that we're going to give it one time next year, even if it's in October, November, or whatever. And then what's stopping folks from the following year deciding to leave? Like, I don't, the structure of it is important to me, so.
Okay, others? Okay, I hear a majority is okay with.
Just a reminder, this is just a request that we're
Yes,
going to
it
county
is.
commissioners for any staff who may be listening or public.
Right.
This is
Thank
not.
you.
Yeah, this is not booked.
This is not an approval of an additional bonus for staff. This is an approval from our board to include it in our request for funding. Are we going to leave in the $2,000 for classified staff?
Right, so the only question I have for the board is, do we want to be similar? You know, because that's an annual payment as opposed to a one-time. And so, does anyone care? Just leave it as it is.
I mean, it was originally fleshed out at the Budget Committee, and I would just leave it with what was originally recommended.
Okay, we'll leave it.
Unless somebody else feels differently. All right, there's.
So I hear we're going to leave it as it's presented in the budget, no changes.
Yes, we're just going to fix the wording. The other thing I had was putting, I don't know if you want to call it a STEM coordinator or an elective person in.
I think this would be more effective if Rhonda.
Oh, Rhonda,
just-
you want to play it?
Yeah, let's Rhonda just tell us what the item and the amount, and then that way we can.
Sure.
Is that okay, Rhonda? I don't want
Great
to put
idea.
you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So the next item that I heard, what was a request for a change, is a one full-time equivalent at each of our 13 schools for an additional STEM teacher at $80,000 annually for that full-time equivalent, which includes all of your benefits. That equates to $1,040,000. The final item that I had captured was to increase the district-sponsored field trips from 30,000 to 200,000. So that would be an increase of 170,000. So just to recap, we are reducing the budget here $900,000 for Sidekicks Academy, where it would only be at one school versus 13. We are adding $1,040,000 for a one-time full-time equivalent teacher position at each of our 13 schools to support STEAM. We're adding $170,000 for district-sponsored field trips. That brings our total request to $10,364,600. And give me just a minute and I will have.
Retention bonus? When you just played it back, you didn't play back the retention bonus.
What I heard beforehand was that it was going to stay at what it is in the budget that is presented here.
Right, but we're going to add a second bonus for the teachers one time.
I did not hear that, so I need clarity. What I heard was that we were going to leave it as it is in this budget, since that's how it was discussed at the Budget Committee, that we were not adding anything additional.
For the classified staff is the way it is, but I thought we were going to add a one-time bonus of $2,500 for the certified staff that were here for over 15 years, and that was $300,000. That's what I heard. I heard Sarah was concerned with it, but I didn't hear any other objections from the board.
If that's what the board wishes to do, we can definitely add that.
Is the majority okay with that? I mean, I agree that some of the details would need to be worked out if that is what we chose to do once we get a budget.
Yes.
Hearing no strong.
So adding the 300,000 in to support an additional $2,500 one-time bonus for our licensed staff with 15 years of service in Orange County schools or more. That brings our total budget request to $10,664,600. That's our increase. I see confusion.
Yes, so here's my confusion, Rhonda, and this is just back of the envelope mentally. So our original number was $10,054,600, and you mentioned the STEM coordinator was $1 million?
$1,040,000.
So that would make whatever at 11 million, and the number. Oh,
You gotta
okay. thank
reduce
you,
this
thank you.
900,000 for the sidekicks.
Got it.
So when we reduce the 900,000, add 300,000, add $1,040,000, add 170,000 for the field trips, that gets us to a total budget increase of $10,664,600, or $1,333 per pupil.
And that includes the continuation budget.
Yes, ma'am, of $2,219,000.
Could I get a motion to extend the meeting?
So moved.
How long?
We extend the meeting for 30 minutes? How long will it take?
We have a closed session too.
Okay, 30 minutes?
Yeah, 30, if we finish sooner, we
Okay.
end.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Okay, so any other discussions or comments, concerns with this? All right, can we get a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve the
And it's
budget
to
with the
approve the budget
proposed
as
changes.
amended per every item that Rhonda just recited, because we're going to
Yes.
need crystal clarity in the minutes on this. Okay.
Yes, I move that we approve the budget with every amendment that Rhonda just recited.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye? Aye. All right. Approved. All right, so we'll go back now to the, thank you, Rhonda. So we'll go back to the contract approval for financial wellness and efficiency studies. So the floor is yours, Dr. Moore.
Mr. Neal, is it okay if I ask questions about, my concerns were about the audit.
So I'm not sure if you have legal questions and want to preserve attorney-client privilege. We have a second closed session. It would probably makes more sense to do then. And if those need to be answered before voting on the contract, we could defer this till after the closed session. Is one thought. I'm not sure what kind of questions you have in mind, Dr. Moore. If it's something just very straightforward that it's not a problem for me to answer in open session, I could do that.
Okay,
as well.
yes, sir, just the cost and the funding source.
Oh, yeah. That's no problem. The contract, the cost is the consultants bill at hourly rates, which are in the contract. It's $150 an hour for the partners, $125 for their associates. They get reimbursed at IRS rate for mileage. There's set reimbursement rates, state reimbursement rates, and that's capped at $20,000 total. So the work could not exceed $20,000 without specific board approval. And the funding source, it's my understanding, would be paid out of fund balance.
Okay. I do have a comment. Do you rather me save my comment for closed session, or is it okay to say now?
I'm not really sure, not knowing what your comment is, I'm not sure what to say. If a business discussion about the contracts, we're perfectly fine for open session. If you have thoughts about whether the district should enter the contract or not, or about the cost, that's all fair game for open.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's what it's about the support around it. So, okay, thank you. So I'm just concerned about doing another audit. You know, to me, it seems to discredit the most recent, excuse me, audit that has no discrepancies, and it discredits the hard work of the finance team. So I guess I just really want to know, what is it that we're looking for in this new audit? Do we know what to look for in an educational audit? Has anyone seen the most recent audit? I just feel if we have questions around the audit, we should contact the firm that did our most recent audit and ask questions around the audit process, excuse me, and what they look for to give more clarity or give possible improvement strategies around our current budget or audit processes. I can't support paying for another audit. I'm just trying to keep in mind we have graduation to pay for that's coming up, the Equal Opportunity Schools contract that's coming up, and I just want to make sure that the students have what they need first. And that's my comment. Thank you.
And so, Dr. Moore, I can just share one piece of information that may be helpful, and then obviously you, the board, can discuss this. This is not really an audit contract. That's one thing I can clarify. In fact, I confirmed with the local government commission today that they do not consider this an audit contract, doesn't require their approval. So I think that's a bit of a misnomer. We may have referred to it that way, but it's a consulting contract for some, for exploring issues and reporting to the board and recommending best practices and things like that. So it wouldn't technically be an audit. It wouldn't be similar, very similar at all to what your auditors do every year. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussions or comments?
I move that we approve the contract.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimous. All right, the next item we have is the Mosley Architects contract amendment for Cedar Ridge, Orange High School, and the tennis courts.
Good evening. Just wanted to bring an update to the board. As you have in your materials, a little bit of history and information. With Mosley Architects, they were selected through an RFP process in 2019 to complete several services within the district. One was tennis courts and track assessments, and it looked like there was a bid package that was completed in 2020. But due to the pandemic and other issues, the work never moved forward. We identified this work as still outstanding and needed to be completed. We were going to and had part of our contract with Corley Redfoot Architects to look at this, and what we're proposing is to amend the contract with Mosley Architects and allow them to move forward with the bid packages and get the bids for the project at the cost indicated within your packet this evening, and that is an equivalent cost that we would have paid. We will receive a credit back through the contract with a change order with Corley Redfoot, reducing their contract in the amount of $40,000, and that will the same budget will be utilized for this contract addendums before you this evening, which total $35,760, so we can move forward with the assessments and the bids necessary to bring tracks and tennis courts at the high schools up to standard.
I am glad to see this come back. Any questions? If not, we need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. The next item
This
is,
is for design services for the Orange High School restroom addition project. We did make a recommendation to set aside $1 million that we have sent to the county commissioners within the bond funds for additional renovations at Orange High School. This was the primary project identified. We do have restrooms throughout the campus that need renovated. One of the issues is because of the number of students at max capacity on the campus, we really can't stop restroom service in order to fix and upgrade restrooms. The ideal time to do that would have been through the geothermal project when wings of the school were closed. So that brings us to how do we address that at this point in time? What we're recommending is adding restrooms to the campus anyway, based on the core services, the number of students there, the auditorium, and that we feel a better project would be to add restrooms to the campus, and you have that design package there this evening for your approval or comment. And then as we build that and add that, then that will give us additional restroom capacity on the campus, therefore allowing us to take restrooms offline to complete those additional renovations throughout the school. And Mr. Taylor and Patrick Florence, our Director of Capital Projects, is here if you have any questions about the design. If there's no objection from the board, we will move forward with this for bid.
Go ahead.
Go
Ann.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I didn't see your
I
hand.
just had a quick question. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, I was just going to say, go
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you, and that's an exciting project. A lot of excited students about that. I just had a question. Somewhere where I was reading, I haven't found it at the moment, but it said something about gender-specific bathrooms, and then when you retrofit or renovate the original bathrooms, are there going to be any gender non-specific bathrooms? Are there going to be different types of bathrooms? Because it seems like Cedar Ridge's bathrooms are not all gender-specific.
Yeah, there would be, once we go back and we're renovating and adding on, we've identified other areas at Orange High School, like the nurse's office, really needs a restroom within it, not outside it or adjacent to it. So there will be other recommendations as we go through the campus, and certainly what we did at Cedar Ridge High School with some non-specific restroom identifications, we would recommend that we have that as well. For the restrooms in this design package, the new additional ones, they would follow the DPI standards and the standards that are in place. So not sure if you want to, anything you want to add to that.
No, that's pretty much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, other questions?
I have a question on how we are anticipating a sewer infrastructure project on the same campus. How do these projects relate, and is there a benefit of approaching them separately, or should we be looking at them together?
We are looking at them together. So we have RFP for evaluation services at 4 campuses, I believe. The team will correct me, but we're looking at restroom and sewer evaluations at Orange High School, Orange Middle School, Eflin Cheeks, Global Elementary School, and there's one more. I'm sorry, it's late, but there are 4 schools.
Okay, I thought there were
River
3.
Park. There are 4 schools that we immediately will do an investigation and review, and then look at services and bring that back for a package to identify the funding for renovations. But we do have 4 schools that we do believe we want to do a complete assessment of the sewer lines and any recommendations.
So this goes forward without that work being done?
Correct.
Okay.
It will really happen simultaneously, but we don't want to hold this part up for that.
Yeah.
Just a thought. We listened, whatever night we met last week at Orange High School with high school principals saying it would be nice to have a commons area or some area where kids could go to. I was thinking about if you do this addition to Orange High, if you did the upstairs part over those bathrooms, you would have a nice commons area for students to have, or even to use for whatever they could come up with. But I was thinking about that space. I don't know whether there's money there. Just a thought.
We do not have any budgeted project for a project like that. Now, certainly, we talked years ago about renovation and expansion of the Panthers Den and looking at renovation projects between the current dining facility and upgrades out to the CTE building, which would enclose the campus more as well. But this project, we've not discussed any common area additions, but there are certainly many improvements that need to happen on that campus that you could consider that.
Okay. I just, when we were talking the other night with the principals, that was a thought that came into my head for over there.
We'll certainly put that on the list. What I try to do is keep the scope here within the dollars allotted.
Well, I do appreciate you fixing the bathrooms. That's long overdue.
All right, could we get a motion?
So move.
We have a motion and a second.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, thank you so much. We have one more item tonight.
So this is the reassignment update. Again, we have a contract for approval. The last time we met, we did talk about the services for ORAD, and we are asking that the board approve the ORAD contract and also the Davis demographics contract, contingent upon the attorney review of the contract documents and authorize the chair to sign those contracts on behalf of the board. I'm going to pause there, allow you to take that vote, because that's the only voting item. Then I'll make a couple comments about reassignment.
I'll just say last time ORAD was involved, it was amazing. They really have a good program and a way to break up data and allow us to look at many, many options. So I'm just sharing that from my experience. Sarah, I know you were involved as well.
Yeah, yeah, they're very, I mean, this is what they do. They're very skilled, so.
All right, can we get a motion?
Move to approve these
Second.
contracts.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes. Well, we can take the vote. I just have questions
Okay,
after that.
all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, it's passed.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not sure if you want me to.
You want to keep going? I
The
just,
additional items I wanted to just mention was, again, part of the reassignment process is putting together the district's needs in the future. And I just want to, I know you put a pin and tabled an item a few minutes ago, and I just want to emphasize again, as we started this process back in August, we talked about at this point, there is no planning of expanded programs or options that are district-wide that would change scenarios as far as students enrolling. What you mentioned earlier is STEM and STEAM in all schools, but we're not talking about expanding school options. We have no planned reconfiguration of schools. And again, the reason I'm commenting on these because we're getting ready to engage the public in reassignment discussions. And I just want to make sure we're clear that we're not discussing configurations or a K-8 option. We're not discussing or expanding year-round options. And again, we're not reconfiguring schools like we had mentioned a few months ago about moving fifth grade from Eflin Cheeks over to Gravelly Hill. So we are building the reassignment plan, the student assignment plan based on current configurations, but also looking at where the needs of the district are and the students in which we anticipate to be serving in the years to come. So I just wanted to make sure we were clear and understanding that as I approach the public in community meetings.
I just have a couple of comments to that.
Comment to motion to go to closed session.
No, just really quickly, because, we are going to run into a little bit of a collision course to the things that you're talking about with the consultant study that the county has just launched. So they're going to be looking at those really big picture items, much longer term. I'm just curious about what this timeline looks like for us to have this work done. And then there was a question about starting community meetings. And if you don't want to answer that because people are tired, I'd
Community
be happy to
meetings, we
get that
hope
in.
to start at the end of April, 1st of May. We want to have those prior to the end of the school year. The student reassignment plan and options, the ORED work completed early fall, board approval, the goal would be December 23, notification to the public January 24, and then the student assignment plan to be approved for implementation thereafter the following year.
Tight.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. All right, can we get a motion to go in closed session?
Motion to move into closed session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're going to head to closed session.